Hello and welcome in, everybody. PPL Week 13 continues here on this beautiful, crisp Friday morning here in Alpharetta, Georgia. My name is Pretty Air. I will be your host for this first matchup of the day. I am joined on the desk by my good friend and colleague, Kresnik. Ready to bring this action for you today, man. We got a lot of stuff to discuss. All the standings, all the top four stuff has been kind of locked in as of yesterday, but the fight for seeding continues. And you and I both know very, very well how important those standings can be, and specifically the seedings and what teams you're facing. And I feel like now more than ever, Kresnik, because you have teams like Virtus.Pro in 4th, Space Station Gaming in 5th. It's like you almost got to be careful where you step, or you're going to meet one of these titans in the first round.
And not only that, there's some teams that just match up worse into each other.
That is very true.
Like Kanga and Renegades, I feel like Renegades have a decent record against them as of now, and that's not something you'd normally say for RNG, a team with only 4 wins in general.
Kanga and Renegades like do okay against like Nip and stuff too. Yeah. It's just a wild, wild place to be at the moment. But like we said, the top 4 is locked in. Make sure you guys are grabbing your HRX tickets because I know those go quick as we start to really get close to the event. All those top 4 are locked in. They're all good for the single elimination bracket. Still fighting for seeding. Like we mentioned, the first matchup here today is going to be Navi versus VP. Kind of a tough one to call. Technically the number 1 seed versus the number 4 seed, but VP are kind of playing like a little bit higher seed than that.
For sure. This feels like, I mean, I think Navi, NIP, and VP, after seeing the games yesterday, I think it's a battle for the top between the 3 of them. And I don't even know how close it is on the other side of it, for sure. That these teams have all been playing so excellently, but Navi has been so solid this phase so far. Even after that loss against VP, I think earlier, after VP went on their break, Navi said, well, we're the big dogs left in town. Yeah. They've had some phenomenal games since then. The tank play on this team has historically been really good. Lazy, definitely one of the factors in that. His aim that somehow connects. I have no idea how with the way he actually
Mr. 1600 DPI, Mr. Worldwide, Mr. Triangle Flick. You know, he goes, well, maybe we can see it here. You know what I mean? He's always like checking some other target after he hits his little bursts. He gets those resets. I don't know. People have their funny little ticks. You were kind of a point-take player in your... Yeah, I don't know. This is a whole lot of something for sure. But he's consistent, man. He sure is consistent. You were a point-tank player kind of in your day. What are some of the things about Lazy that you like that maybe some of the viewers don't really pick up on?
Definitely his objective priority a lot of the time. Like, he knows when he can give it up. He knows when he can...
How about
when
that?
He has to just stay there and ignore things. Yeah, I would say that's okay.
Is that good?
That was an okay play.
Okay. I don't know.
That block on that. Listen, it's so good that when I did it in the B-roll recording for the IO video, I explicitly noted for Matt.
Yeah.
I explicitly put a note like, hey, listen, man, please put this in. I need to look good. Please feed my ego as much as you can. But Lazy, he knows his objective priority so well. He knows when to back off of the objective to fight someone. He knows when to just stay on and die, and when that objective time is worth giving up your life for.
Yeah, that's part of what makes being a good frontline difficult is that there's a lot of times a gray area involved in your decision making, and ultimately it comes down to your decision making to kind of separate yourself, right? A lot of times, you know, you look at those DPS characters being like the mechanically intensive one, like your Maves and your Andros and your Eevees and stuff like that. Not to say it's not, you know, important to hit your shots on a front line, but the decisions you make is what often, I think, separates you. We're going to take a look here at Virtus.Pro as well. Again, a team that is really, really playing above where they sit in the standings. Everyone's got eyes on these guys. Played 2 matches yesterday after about a month or so of a break. The break was pretty rejuvenating, kind of getting their feelings about it, right? Sometimes teams get a little nervous or a little rusty if they have to take kind of a long break, but Virtus.Pro seems to be feeling pretty good about theirs. He stomped out their first matchup of the day, ended up falling 4-2 to NIP. I have to say, kind of a boon to what I'm thinking about NIP now, right? That was a team that was in a slump as well, and I don't know, after their first matchup, when we got to see some of this action, this was a 15-5 Buck performance.
A flex, too.
Exactly, man. Barely main DPS players are playing this yet, but Crunchy pulled it out. Looked damn good doing it.
Biggest thing for me about VP coming back was I thought that maybe their synergy would take a hit because it had been a little bit of a while since they'd practiced together.
Exactly.
But their aggression, one thing that they kind of had become known for since surging to the dominance that they've had, was almost untouched, and I think Cruncy was a huge part of it. This off-tank just going in and living longer than most other off-tanks ever can get away with.
You don't have to tell me twice, man. I think the thing that made NIP so successful in the first phase, I think even the thing you could point to
right here
that has made Kanga successful in the last like 2 weeks, and now Virtus.Pro kind of doing it when teams are getting up in the grills of their opponents and just playing relentlessly. You can see it have an adverse effect on the team in red, right? This is tough to play against, and Virtus.Pro are kind of absorbing and playing to that strength and playing to that style. And that's the style, frankly, I like to see. I like the high octane, right? I like when a lot of people are dying. We're getting huge streaks. We're getting huge triple kills. And somebody's going in decisively one way or another, winning or losing. But it looks like VP really coming together as a family. You mentioned that synergy after the break.
I mean, speaking of back, I just wanted to mention, because you said like back and forth people dying. Think about that one fight, NIP VP, bizarre. Literally, it was trade after. It was who's alive? Just Alex.
Yeah,
at the end
like
of full trades back and forth, and that's what we'd expect to see those two. But this is a very different matchup, I think, in the sense that Na'Vi is a very over the years has been this very controlled team. They're going to just make you play to their pace, and VP's going to want to completely flip that. VP managed to flip that in the last time they matched up, but this is a Na'Vi that's been playing a lot, and I think the practice that they've had, the fact that they've been playing, plays more into their style. Maybe VP can just out-mechanic them, but it's going to be
I want to kind of bring up at the start of Phase 2, as we do have the map bands coming in, just follow along with your eyeballs, because we're talking about something else. At the start of this phase, Na'Vi were basically trying to use their position in the standings, which was very good. It wasn't first seed yet. They started this phase in second place, but because they had such a cushion and were like, we're probably good for top 4, let's try and, develop some new strategies, right? We're known for doing this one thing extremely well. So they played a lot of 3 DPS and stuff like the first couple of weeks. But it feels like that's kind of fallen off. Do you think that they were happy with it, or they got maybe a little bit shook about the games they were losing and wanted to get back to home base?
I think it was Ninu. They pick up Ninu, Creatives retires to go do what he wants to do, and now they're saying, well, we have to rebuild our team synergy with this new player. We're a core that's been together for so long. Let's go back to our basics. Let's play what we're good at, get Ninu back in the fold, and then maybe we can experiment a little bit more as the time goes on. They have played triple DPS with Ninu in the roster. They're clearly feeling more comfortable, but just that time of them playing that 2-2-1, that standard slow pace that we expect to see from Na'Vi, I think is what let them resurge, what put them back into that position to take that first seed.
It is kind of funny for sure when you look at Na'Vi adding a player, and any roster change that Na'Vi makes is going to feel major because this team has been together for so long. The newest member until Ninu came on was lazy, and that was already about a year old when this Ninu change got made. Crazy stuff. Such a storied roster here in Paladins, and such a successful one at that. World Championships under the belt, some of them having multiple. Spunky was shooting for 3 rings last year, and I'm sure he'll be shooting for that 3rd ring again. Wants to grab it while the iron is hot. Bans here for Bright Marsh. Game number 1 here between Na'Vi and VP. Willow, Eevee taken out of the pool, as well as Makoa and Atlas. We saw a lot of Makoa and Atlas make it through in the Na'Vi Kanga set yesterday,
which I found kind of interesting. I didn't expect these. It was fun to watch for sure.
Instantly interesting.
But they just weren't playing against the Makoa that well. I mean, it was kind of just getting through and doing a lot, and then just kept getting through again. I felt like it wasn't being countered the way it could have been. Na'Vi seem to be targeting Fish with these bans. I mean, Willow, Eevee definitely kind of aiming at him. Maybe they're saying that he's a little bit less flexible and they think they can play whatever and they don't think VP can.
It feels like, Fish is definitely a pretty flexible player, but on like his top 3, he like takes over the game. You know what I mean? It's not to say that VP is nothing without him, but he's just that type of player where sometimes that happens, bro, and you're happy to take your hands off the wheel and just kind of let the kid go to work. It's no skin off your nose, right? And I think that's what teams are trying to prevent with a lot of these Willows and these Eevees. He's running Eevee on almost any map in the game. That's his opinion on the character, and I think he backs it up pretty damn well too. But even here on Bright Marsh, dude, the Luminary Fusillade looked good. It's like Pick your poison.
I mean, think about yesterday. We talk about Ice Mines not being the best EV map. What was
and
the
I
show
was
at the end of that?
dude,
28 and 8.
Yeah.
Something absurd.
Literally, yeah, literally 28 and single digits.
Had it too much for
And if it
you,
wasn't for
bud.
that really kind of electric final team fight from NIP, like we're talking the time and space off the map, like
Yeah.
highlight of the day from Bird. I was calling he's getting 30 plus here. It was wild to me. Absolutely wild performance because EV is extremely rarely picked up on the Ice Mines. But so is Zin, and look at Alex. I mean, this is just the caliber of player we're dealing with.
Yeah.
In the top 4 of the PPL. Heavy frontline prioritization here. Inara Barrick taking away both of Lazy's tanks.
And I think that's the point of it. That's what I was going to say. I love the prioritization from VP. Now, I'm assuming Na'Vi is going to probably end up on Nando. That is their fallback for Lazy. Maybe they do that double off tank. They can do it later because VP have both their tanks. They're not going to go triple with Inara and Barrick. It's not aggressive enough for a triple tank. Usually want to be kind of forcing the issue when you have 3. So most likely not going to go that way. Strix and Cassie, 2 back lines picked up for Na'Vi. Should be pretty strong against flankers. Both of them. Strix so hard to dive. Stealth lets him get away. 2,400 burst damage in the pocket if he hits their shots, and these players will hit their shots.
Especially when you have no push tank, right? That you're that you're kind of dealing with for VP. I'm just wondering where Na'Vi are going to head after this. Support that I feel like VP are going to lean towards is one, I would imagine, that has more throughput, like your Furias, your Dambas, your Kings. Probably staying away from Genos. Maldama's kind of popped up again, dude.
A little bit, and I don't even know if I like it with the Inara. I think it's just too resilience heavy. I think people are just forgetting about the CC tanking. If anything, they're just picking it for the speed spirits to be able to be more aggressive with your tanks. Because aggression kind of is the name of the game in a lot of different ways right now. Being able to just send your Inara in or send your Barrick in. Followed up by a Vivian that also gets a little bit of a benefit from that speed too. No mobility abilities means that any movement speed is all she really has to get in and out of a situation.
Do you feel Vivian is grabbed here so Na'Vi won't take it?
I don't. That's weird to me. I wouldn't expect Na'Vi to go triple DPS, triple backline with solo tank con. That's a lot of Haven. That's a lot of Haven.
Is it just to prevent or to kind of make this fortress, right? Something that's very hard to dive into and to push on?
When you take something like this that early, I think that's because you're saying, well, we're definitely going to take this pick no matter what. This is our edge that we know we want. Also, you're probably going to go for Nando as your point tank.
Maybe they had to read on that,
we will shred you. Well, they haven't really played Terminus, not V. So they know Nando is going to be the point tank that they go for.
And that kind of
Sensor Drone versus Strix, too.
Yeah. They've got a couple of options here. Maybe not as surprising of a pick once you start to think through it. Last one here up for Virtus.Pro. Drogos is available. In theory, the match lobby indicator would tell you that you need a blaster of sorts.
Well, at this point, it would say no flank.
No
I guess they're listening. They really are. They're going to take up the Zin instead. Yomi spam maybe. Guillotine to execute the tanks through their shields is also an option. Furia maybe doesn't have the throughput to stop the Guillotine from shredding through them.
Well, I'm never going to say Fishy can't play something at this point. Curious to see what he does with it. I love the pick. Still one of my favorite characters. Alex made it look badass yesterday on Ice Mines, but I would say it's a little bit more standard there than here on Bright Marsh. Okay. Always curious to see what Fish can do with these niche picks. Let's get it down to the casters and find out.
Thank you guys so much for the desk. It's me, Font, and I'm here with Dolson this go around.
That's right.
And we're really, really excited for not only this set, but we got 3 sets again today. So it's going to be a long one. On top of that, though, I mean, Na'Vi VP, it's going to be, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, this is a great way to start off the day. I mean, yesterday, even though we start off with a relatively quick set, we go 7, we go 6, and potentially not too many matchups today are far off from what we saw yesterday. Could be lengthy if these teams all play up to their potential, but you're right. We dive into Na'Vi versus Virtus.Pro, and while the top 4 is locked in, your quarterfinals, or I guess half of your quarterfinalists are set. The mobility within that top 4, you know, technically Na'Vi can drop down, NIP can go up, so can Virtus.Pro. That top 4 can still shift, so this is a big game, not only for Na'Vi to fend off NIP, we're just a couple of wins behind them, but Virtus.Pro are 1 win behind Envy with 1 less game played, so they would actually jump up into that 3rd spot with a map differential advantage if they're able to beat Natus Vincere here. So lots of things at play. Two really great teams.
Already 6% to 6% on the point. A good flare from Mutu is going to leave that Zen really, really low. Pacheco has to time himself, pace himself, so he doesn't actually end up overextending. The point take was already low as well, so he's going to back up. Lazy still eating shots in the back, has to cover a lot of ground just with that shield. With the positioning that VP already have, they're not making it any easier for him. A good disengage bolt followed by a blast shot into a finishing crossbow bolt, and you got a kill on the raise for first blood.
And that could not have come a moment sooner for Natus Vincere. Lazy could not move his way inside that point room. The Zin was just making his life hell. Could not step a toe inside of that room. So just getting a small advantage there. Great pick from Ninu to start things off here for Na'Vi. Now they got a little bit of ground to make up, but they have the room on their side.
Yeah, good Pyre Strike just to stun Pacheco just for even a moment. Was really being able to touch, at least on Natus Vincere's side. The Inflame is going to come out, though, in the middle of the fighting. I've actually there's kills coming out left, kills coming out right. But one thing that's for certain is a double for Phoenix. He's already at 210 health. The battle shot to keep himself alive. He tried to actually go into Commander's grab, but it ended up getting parried. And this fight, they're just locked down against each other right now. Lazy's actually coming to help in. Pacheco's in a bad spot, has to pillow out, but he might be able to actually cover for Phoenix, and he does. And at 99% with overtime steadily going down, Natus Vincere could potentially get this point.
They've got overtime on their side. They've got the numbers as well. Looks like Na'Vi are going to strike first. And that is just, it is a masterclass kind of in distraction and self-sustain there for Phoenix. He, grabs a double kill. Pacheco thinks he's got an easy free target to cycle back on. The battle shout. Great kind of min-max moments, the counter to block out the Commander's grab, because that could have been a dead Zin up and over the railing there. But what Phoenix did is just out-sustain, bought himself enough time. Then Lazy was able to come in and support. The rest of Virtus.Pro were not able to move in onto the point fight. You kind of had Crunty out on an island all on his own, playing point tank here on the Inara, and everything sort of just steamrolled from there. So great showing, honestly, from Natus Vincere to kind of start off on the back foot and really fight back into it.
Counter Inflame as Lazy was actually diving in the back line. Just enough to be able to try and find an opening, but you got a double kill for Pacheco. Crunty ends up getting a kill of his own. So does Dosif. So you're looking at 4 men down. The 5th one potentially at least being in the name of Phoenix. It is going to be, but the rest of the team has already respawned, but they cannot break through GP's, well, really their offensive line.
Yeah.
And like Na'Vi are the ones stuck in their base right now.
Yeah, this is a Virtus.Pro defense. Always good to remind everyone watching of that. And I think it was only a matter of time before Pacheco really started to have a big performance on this Zin. Hasn't died yet. There were some moments where, maybe his positioning wasn't where he needed to be. He did such a good job of zoning at the beginning of that first mid fight. Just couldn't find the kill confirms. But since that mid has kind of collapsed now, and on the defensive side, he's felt more clear to kind of move forward, find some of those big swings. 505, I mean, it's so hard on Brightmarsh to fight through a Zin. I mean, if he's playing properly and safely enough, well, that aside, but he's feeling aggressive, and that's scary to go up against on a Zin. It's a very kind of momentum, movement, rhythm-based champion. Once you're kind of hitting that rhythm, nice shots from Mutu, by the way, to get this payload moving. But, it's such a rhythm-based champion. Once you kind of get in that movement, Pacheco can do that. Gonna have some trouble. Mutu gets the triple to get this cart moving, though.
Now just switching targets to Nara. She's already looking pretty low. Trying to get the bank shot on Nara to finish her off. Doesn't quite land it. Pretty much just in a good spot right now. Overtime is up on the board. It is available right now. 1 point to nothing against Virtus.Pro. Na'Vi are at least able to push it just a little bit. Little by little, it's making it there. But they're putting on a good defense. But you get the kill on Dosif, you get one on Pacheco, you got 2, and you're finding your opening. You're finding your way to keep moving forward. Slither in from Vex, actually. Not quite sure as to why, but they get 2 more kills after that.
I mean, the only thing I can assume is the rest of his team had kind of fallen at that point, and he was just trying to contest a moment longer. I'm going to die anyway. Let's stagger myself out and keep this payload as far back as possible. Remember, this push started with like 10 seconds left from the mid. Shows you how fast Brightmarsh can move. Big defense here from Virtus.Pro. You don't want to go down 2-0 to Na'Vi, especially not on Brightmarsh.
Yeah, but you got to be careful of that big game. Krusty gets disengaged, and that's going to lead to him eating a lot of damage, providing that he's still able to hit these shots, followed by a very good Immortal Seismic Crash as well, a headshot for 1,800. You got 2 from Mutu once again. You got 2 more for Spunky and Ninu, and you got 2 points for this round. Already, Na'Vi looking really, really clean.
God, that is like a, you sit back, you watch that, and really it's just one ultimate. They only use the Immortal and grab themselves their second point of the game. So as far as results go, that's about as much value as you can get. Here's Phoenix grabbing the double, countered out the commander's grab. And look, Lazy just kind of approaching from the side, switches targets. Pacheco is caught out. He is able to billow his way out, counter, whirl, using the full suite to stay alive. But in the meantime, they are capturing the point. But all they use is Immortal to push that in. Extreme value for that. You grab yourself another point, go up 2-0, and all you use is Immortal. But that is a master class in just team communication. You could see the moment that they hit that button, they hit that Immortal button, Ninu rolled in, you had Mutu in the back line on the Strix. Everything just kind of clicked right in that moment for Na'Vi, and it's all snowballing. You win one one kind of retake fight to get back to the payload, maybe a few picks here and there. But it's hard to push on Brightmarsh. They have free high ground. You really have to pick and choose your moments. And Na'Vi, again, it's a small thing, just one Immortal, but you could see everyone converges. You can almost hear in your head Lazy saying, Immortal now.
Right.
Everyone else groups up, gets aggressive. And I think Ninu has had a fantastic game on this Cassie.
Agreed. I mean, you've got 4 ultimates that are still up. Make that 3 after you hear the scout. Make that actually 2 when you hear the Inflame. Crunchy's getting melted. The rest of them, they know what they're looking for. They smell blood in the water and like a bunch of sharks. They're moving into attack already. 3 members down, a 4th one soon after that. Pacheco has to ult out, but he can't escape. Na'Vi are already on his tails, and they wipe him out too.
Poor Pacheco, he's a fish in a sea of sharks, as you put it. Natus Vincere absolutely steamroll Virtus.Pro. And again, this is just great communication. All of the ultimates coming out in a big volley. Still a chance for Virtus.Pro, though, to retake. Sentinels use Dread Serpent, Dome Shield. Great retake ultimates. Keep your eyes on Erase. Needs to stay alive, but he gets a trade.
Mutu was at least able to try and find that opening. They're still missing one down. They're the ones on the back foot. Is it still really hard for them to do? He put the Dome Shield down, but wasn't on point, so he couldn't contest. Now he's just stuck there. If he gets picked off, which he will, good Pyre Strike is going to allow them to be able to net that kill. He dropped the Dome Shield, and like I said, he wasn't on point. He couldn't actually contest it.
Honestly, and I'm thinking matchup-wise, outside of that mid-fight, it all snowballed kind of from the first volley of ultimates at the beginning of this round for Natus Vincere. It's kind of that offensive swing that Nick likes to kind of word it as. The first team to kind of get out of their base, hit those ultimates first, because at that point you're putting the enemy team at a disadvantage. They have to re-engage. They have to try to figure out how to break your line of defense. And that's not easy to do against Natus Vincere. And I love seeing the way that Lazy and Phoenix have started to play. Yesterday we saw a different look where Lazy was getting a little bit more aggressive. He was the one who was kind of pushing forward, and he was saying it's just kind of this dance where both teams have to read what the enemy point tank is doing. But in a situation where you have a Fernando and a Khan, you kind of have to play a little bit more aggressive, especially when you have a Barrack and an Inara on the enemy team. You take the fight to them, and that's what Na'Vi are able to do. That's what they're best at, honestly. This is a scary composition to play into Na'Vi because it plays to all of their strengths.
It does, and props to, I mean, they have 2 backliners. Yeah. And me and Nick had this conversation yesterday, I believe, when we were on desk about the Strix on Brightmarsh. You never really see it. Ninu was the one that brought it out during PPL, one of those times where they were exactly on Brightmarsh. And he actually popped off. They have the Furia to have that Inflame to cause that engage as well. And you have Mutu just being aggressive on a backline sniper. You don't even really see something like that being played.
It's very, obviously with Brightmarsh, it's such a sightline, finding your sightlines type of map. in the push and maybe the defense is a little bit
okay.
easier. Everyone from Na'Vi, I guess, is just going to snag themselves a triple.
I guess.
But remember, they're doing this with 1 minute and 40 seconds left. They did it with 0 seconds left from this spot in the last round. They still have some good ultimates. Immortal's almost ready, and Flame is as well. Maybe expect them to wait for that Immortal to come up. I stand corrected, though. They're going to hit that gas pedal right now.
They are immediately the seismic crash, but good dodge roll from Ninu. Keep himself from being stunned. Everyone hand out. Didn't get hit by the stun. A good flare from Mutu with a backline. Pacheco's trying to dive him, but he actually moves right out of the way. And he still actually lives. The movement from Mutu is going to not only keep him alive, but net him a kill. Ninu with a double on his own. And now we got 1 minute left. We're seeing the payload being pushed in. Doseps has to go on point, but he's only touching for so long before Natus Vincere are the ones that are actually pushing in. Good Dredzer, but an Immortal to counter that.
They got the Immortal to save their lives, and Natus Vincere. That's a 4-0. Unreal on Brightmarsh. This is a brilliant start for Na'Vi. You know, Virtus.Pro, tough long set yesterday. They end up falling to NIP. Still a very, motivated team. Arguably, and not even arguably, they are locked in as one of the top 4 teams in the PPL. So these are the games where you start to kind of figure out, maybe where that seeding is. Because so much of it is a toss-up. But when Na'Vi is playing this way, clear communication, clear intention, you can almost follow what they're doing without us even needing to tell you. And again, that's Na'Vi at their best.
Right. I mean, Na'Vi are looking really, really good right now. They've already gotten a 4-0 against VP, who at the time, or at least a few weeks ago, were dominating everything.
That's right.
And for Na'Vi to be able to do that, that takes a lot of skill. Right after this break, we'll be right into game 2.
iNap, powering the control room for the Paladins Premier League.
And I'm loving your lips like a candy bar. I ain't kidding, I just wanna have ya. Ain't kidding, I just gotta have ya. Girl, you like an uncut diamond. Every time when you put your smile on, really wanna get to know you better. Loving every minute we're together. A king, a queen to be. If I pop the question on my knees, cause you feel like competition. Got a body divine with a vision. Wanna see you move, yeah. Hurry up before I lose, yeah. I'm addicted to your hot kiss. I can't take it no more. Put your hands in the air, we'll be alright. You keep messing up my mind, but I love your style. Yeah. And I'm loving your lips like a candy bar. I ain't kidding, I just wanna have ya. Ain't kidding, I just gotta have ya.
Lips like a candy bar in game number 1 there. Na'Vi, and led by Phoenix, take game number 1 on Brightmarsh in pretty convincing fashion. I got to say, pretty good performance from the kid himself, too.
Yeah, for sure. Phoenix was putting on so much pressure. It's so hard to deal with. I mean, we saw that replay from the first round. Phoenix is just holding his shield, and Pacheco just could not take him down for like 10, 15 seconds out of the fight, just swanging on a shield. Nothing Fish could do.
Zin is definitely not the shield breaker that you want. Vivian would be more, I think, prescribed for that problem. Let's go to the post-game stats, see what type of story the numbers can tell us. Decent damage numbers all around, but despite having the double point tank, it feels like the objective control just so heavily in Navi's favor.
Yeah, they just couldn't stand on it. They were trying to be a little bit aggressive with them and then back off to the point, but I don't think they ever did the backing off part because they never really won the fights.
Yeah.
I think Na'Vi were just kind of winning them very decisively. The DPSs, you can see how well they did. I mean, Fish was topping the damage charts at the very beginning, but just couldn't make it keep going, couldn't find the kills.
Right, just doesn't matter when it comes down to it. Na'Vi are known for their ability to play the objective just better than anybody else. Let's take a look at the big boy himself. Phoenix 7-3. I have to say, Brightmarsh is like easily the most consistent snowball map. Even though we talk about it with Jag Falls and stuff like that, it feels like you get these landslide victories on Brightmarsh, and I almost factor it into the drafts, right? I'm assuming we're not making it to late game at this point.
Yeah, for sure. I was head in my hands a little bit there because I don't know about that spite decision by Fish to try to get out of this alive. And this was that sustain I was talking about here. Watching this from Fish's POV was hysterical because he just could not connect, even with that counter going through. The dash into the shield. Fish just can't kill Phoenix.
Yeah, the one like wall jump auto that might have made it over, he battle shouted it. That was really good. Very impressive. Min-max moments there. You need to do that type of stuff against Fisheko to keep a lid on him as much as possible. And it's that type of play, right? What we just saw from Phoenix, that's just outright what VP's composition lacked. They didn't have any big boys doing that to the back line of Na'Vi. When you take that pressure off of Na'Vi and these world-class players, they're going to be hitting every shot, and they're not going to be forced to make any rash decisions. They're not going to be forced into anything that makes them uncomfortable or they look back on and shake their head, because there's no reason for them to. They're just chilling in that game.
Yeah, I mean, they had Cruncy and Nara. To me, that doesn't really scream the same kind of mindset. I mean, and you could see how quickly he was just getting walked at by Faye. Faye used the fact that he was CC immune to dash past him and body block him on the other side of the door. Cruncy just not really playing Inara the way I think it needed to be.
Big game Cassie was having her way with Inara. It's really tough, and it's not even like, you know, Barrick technically because he is the lowest overall HP, but Inara through straight damage reduction, well, is one of the better front lines equipped to deal with big game, right? She's not known for like this colossal health pool. It's all about that damage reduction and healing amp that mitigates it. But big game Cassie, just that strong at the moment, especially when you're connecting it. The high skill requirement for sure, but obviously these players good enough for it. Quick chat about the Strix on the Bright Marsh too.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if it's enough to call it kind of par for the course yet, but in an instance like that where there's really not a lot from VP that's getting to the back line, I guess it makes sense when you think about it.
That plus, I mean, think about the one time that they did, right? That one Mutu versus Fish
down.
1v1. Mutu lives at 25 HP, and they both connected everything. So you got to think that means, you know, in a vacuum, Strix just kind of wins that every time.
It is part of the kit, man. It's part of most snipers, I think, in most FPS games have that innate weakness to some type of flanker or whatever it is, high burst character getting up in their grill, but not Strix. In fact, his burst damage is, I would venture to say, nigh unmatched if you're connecting everything, right? Talent shot into the swap flare and then just ripping it. You've got like a character like Ashe has to start to be worried about her HP at that point. It is a lot of damage.
I think that's about 3,500 damage if you hit everything in an instant. Also depending on your level of infused crystals too, how fast you can spam the pistol once you do the swap. A lot of these players are running level 1, level 2. That's another 400 to 800 damage in the clip that kind of is going to go unanswered.
That's the ammo card for
that's the two bullets per level for both weapons. It's for the rifle and the pistol. It's actually kind of nuts, and I'm surprised it's not even being run at a higher level, but Cassie going to be the first pick for VP here on Splitstone Quarry. I would say standard bans across the board. Strix, Willow, Makoa, Atlas, all taken out. And Na'Vi respond with Condon, something we don't normally see from them, but I think is targeted Eevee.
Yeah, probably got to put it away. Na'Vi, even with creatives, never running it down to try and grab that Eevee. Never really having their sights too heavily set on her, but creatives was always in the conversation for some of the better Eevee players. I think Ninu has done a nigh flawless job at not only replacing what creatives played, but kind of bringing his own flavor to some of the picks as well. And it's reflected, I think, in Na'Vi. They didn't really lose a lot of games picking up Ninu. In fact, they're in a better spot now than they ever have been in the past. That could be attributed a little bit to the NIP slump, but Ninu has done nothing to slow Na'Vi down, keeping everything on the tracks.
I think also having a new player kind of lit a fire under Na'Vi too. Made them, you know, oh, now we have to try harder. We're not just relying on all this energy we used to have. We have to make it work from here on out. Merrick, Genos get picked for VP, so a pretty damage amp-oriented comp. They have a couple ways they could go. Still triple DPS open for them as well. So we know that they like. I think they ran it on this map yesterday with a buck with the 15 and 5k Cruncy. But Na'Vi take double flankers and double sustainy tanks.
Yeah.
Flankers so important on this map because of that verticality, and they want to just run circles around VP.
That, getting them away from Genos seems like a pretty high priority. VP have shown that they can and will play the buck. You need that anti-flank pressure, though. Leon is still there. They could go big game. They could also go blast shot Cassie as well. That's done fairly well in the past against flankers. It's about what VP feel good about. We could just see Crunchy back on the buck. We could see a Leon for a raise, and then Fish can play the Cassie. That's part of why I like the first pick Cassie for Virtus.Pro, is that it just has a ton of versatility through this roster.
It's the same kind of decision making as like a first pick Mave, right? You know your DPS, your direct damage, and your blaster can both play it. You know it can go either way. You're right though. The Leon potentially going to be the pick.
Next
Double
time
back
you
line.
see my banners,
A little bit of a
run.
stationary composition, but the mobility from the buck might help that a little bit. Crunchy with a great performance on it yesterday. Go to help out, and all Na'Vi have left is a support. Actually not sure where I'd want to end up here. Possibly Furia for the damage amp on your flankers, but you could also argue for Damba, the CC maybe to peel for yourself if you get dove by potential aggression from Crunchy.
It's a big thing to think about here. A big decision for Spunky after a great Furia game as well.
Yeah.
The world is kind of his oyster. One of the more veteran support players. He's going to know kind of what he wants here. I wouldn't mind Furia again, but it looks like Damba is going to be hovered.
Pray to your
locked in.
gods.
It's kind of
The spirits
tough to say. What's the Na'Vi win condition here? They have a strong point. They also have the strong flanks. Whereas VP is like that whole roster kind of like it's on the same page, right?
Yeah,
It all synergizes together, right? They are all complementing one another.
For me, I'm thinking Na'Vi have their tanks and their support lock down Quarry, stay in there so that the backlines don't really get a good angle. And then it's all about Ninu and Mutu moving together, collapsing on the same target, and staying away from the buck. I think if they can do that, they have a shot. But if VP strike first, if they pinch them when they're in Quarry, their comp is definitely better for the map for sure.
I like this, though, man. Lots of flanks getting locked in, lots of DPS. Lots of dying about to happen here on Splitstone Quarry. Let's get down into the action with the casters for Game 2.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one too because of the fact that they have double flank. VP have triple DPS. They've got their Beck, they got their Genos to spread out that Luminary buff because you have triple DPS.
Yeah.
But with two flanks, I agree with Nick. There's going to be a lot of dying on this map for sure.
Virtus.Pro played this yesterday to massive success. I mean, it was Crunchy on the buck, and he went, 15-5 or something absurd like that. And absolutely crushed it yesterday. It's Fasheko this time, notably on the buck. A different kind of pivot, though, is when they were playing. The composition they were playing against yesterday was very kind of dig my heals in onto the high ground. I'll have an off tank here protecting me, and my healer is as well. And then the other two members of that composition just kind of died to the rest of Virtus.Pro on the offside. This is going to be a much more mobile, much more divey team from Natus Vincere. You're not going to have quite an easy time locking somebody down because they're not just going to be sitting up here on the high ground the whole time. It's going to be much more skirmishy, I think. And I do like Virtus.Pro's draft here for Splitstone Quarry, but if the picks and the mobility for Natus Vincere kind of reign supreme, and point control, look at this. I mean, you can lose the fight at 60% and still have 2 chances at it on the back end.
Right, I mean, Fasheko has definitely found his opening. I mean, he's forced Mutu off of that high ground, but you made a good point, Dave. 63% already for Natus Vincere to VP's mere 6%, and it's still growing. I mean, they have not been able to find anything except for that kill for Natus Vincere, which is pretty much solidifying their point presence already. They got 2, they got Fasheko, they got Doseps. Crunchy actually flips right back around, flicks, kills Ninu, but you're still looking at a potentially captured point for them.
And all of the kills actually suddenly starting to come up for Virtus.Pro. That fight kind of went on long enough where the sustain for Natus Vincere wasn't enough. Kind of a mid-fight kill onto Spunky, delayed things out. But 99% to now kind of 50. Still a fight back for Na'Vi. Plenty of mobility to get an overtime touch on the point. But you can't lose any members here without at least trading out for one.
Yeah, Fasheko once again still up there. He actually
Especially
slides right in, right on top of Spunky, uses the lightning, gets the kill, gets that 50% race, that 50% refund. But you've got Mutu, you've got Ninu, you've got the flanks doing their job, but can it be enough? Mutu gets killed almost instantly, almost touching. They drop the Ice Storm through time and space as well, but Phoenix still goes down. Mutu was gone a while ago. Now Ninu can't find a way in, and VP get their first point.
What a fight from Erase. Stays alive under the onslaught of Natus Vincere. And I almost love how the moment I say, also damage, something to take a look at there. 35,000 free raise is good for top in the game. Next highest is, of course, Ninu down at 12,000. I mean, this is one of the most discrepant, I think, damage charts I've seen. And that really tells the story. The uptime of Erase in that fight, now grabbing his first death in the game, was 6-0-1 in the mid-fight. Just kind of out-damaged. The sustain wasn't enough from Natus Vincere. They killed Spunky very early on. Right as I say, you can't lose anyone without trading out, which is, I would say, true unless that person's your healer. Because then you don't have anyone to keep you in that fight. Good start to the defense, though, but Virtus.Pro, the Cassie, Leon, Luminary combo is just tearing through Na'Vi right now.
I mean, they were staring Phoenix down. They popped his shield and they popped him. Now they're just moving on. The minute 20 still left of the clock, still in the bank. Reserve time for VP. I mean, they are pushing nonstop. They have yet to find the chance where they've been stopped. Along with that, the Enlightenment actually just forces the kill onto Lazy. Ninu blinks in, blinks out. Wormhole gets him a double kill, but still a race for Sheko, the two of them. You took care of one DPS, that's cool. We got two more. They're able to clean this up, and another kill on a Spunky. Their healer is forcing Natus Vincere to make these very, very brash decisions.
I like the way you word that. There's just too much pressure from Virtus.Pro right now. The dive up to the high ground, just too heavy. Sure, you kill off one of our damage dealers. We still have a Buck. We still have, you know, a Leon or a Cassie, depending on who dies. And then kind of Fasheko, the way he's playing this Buck, the way you should play the Buck is, you know, before the Cauterize comes online, which is something to keep your eye on. You know, he's going to be kind of mitigated later on. Early Caught 2s for 3 members of Natus Vincere. But for now, he can still kind of go off on his own. He can still kind of roam free. Genos doesn't need line of sight, so he can get the healing as he needs it. Restore there, just enough to keep him alive. But definitely keep tabs on the Cauterize situation. Once 3 starts to come online for a few members of Na'Vi, Pasheko's going to have a much harder time staying alive.
Joseph is going to start off this mid-fight with getting a kill onto Mutu. Ninu goes down, Phoenix goes down, Spunky goes down. You got 4 of them. Lazy just respawn. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure he would have went down. And overtime is now up on the board. You've got 1-0 for Virtus.Pro, and you've got 4 ultimates online for them as well. Natus Vincere has 5, but with the aggression, the pressure that is coming out from VP, it is hard to find that response. You got the Dome Shield and the Dread Serpent back-to-back ultimates from either team, and Erase still finds that kill. Fasheko still finds that pressure. Ninu, it can open the door for Natus Vincere, but not when you've got this much going on VP's side.
I cannot believe Dosep stayed alive throughout that fight. I mean, that is the one person Na'Vi need to kill, kind of just bar none. I mean, you can make an argument for anybody on the Virtus.Pro team, but if you're talking about contesting an overtime payload, you have to be able to kill Dosep. He does use the Dome Shield, but you Dread Serpent him out of it to sustain the you know, the healing from Vex as minimal, well, not minimal, but as, you know, not all front-loaded as someone like a Damba or other healers may be. He was able to sustain through that fight and stay alive, and there were just no trades. I think Na'Vi poured so much into trying to kill Doseps, weren't able to confirm it. It's only a Dread Serpent for a Dome Shield. Dread Serpent charges a little bit quicker. So maybe Na'Vi in the ultimate category come out on head, but that's the only win they found.
Lazy is back up to point, 15% to 3%. But this time they're playing a little bit more patient. You already see Fasheko actually just dove directly in there. They used a seismic crash just to find that kill. But a good through time in space is enough to land that kill on the Lazy, which opens up the door for Crunchy to be able to get his own kill onto Mutu. And now they're at 27%. Now Natus Vincere are the ones behind. A good few shots from Phoenix, though, are going to finish off Crunchy. An even better overpower is going to open the door for another kill onto Erase, and now they can swap targets. Now they're looking at Doseps, and Ninu is looking on the side at Fasheko.
Fight rage is on, though. Ninu trying to take it to Virtus.Pro. They have fast cap on their side. They're going to overtake Virtus.Pro here shortly. Still a couple ultimates to look out for. Buckwild, the only thing ready for Virtus.Pro, but he might not be in range in time to contest. Big trades here for Na'Vi.
The Knight comes through the Void Grip as well. The Dread Serpent to try and peel for his team as a capturing point. They've got 99% up on the board with overtime still being a factor. Dosip has to dash off of the point. He steps right back on, but look how low everybody is. The rest of the DPS just got there. They're able to follow up. The Dome Shield gets dropped. He tries to dodge roll in. He does still get the kill on Spunky. The disengage bolt to force Ninu back. He has to use Wormhole, but he was still in a bad spot. 72% for VP and 3 ultimates left.
I don't think there's any chance that Na'Vi capture this one. Now with Ninu with 2 seconds left, nobody's going to be in range to get a touch. And this is just the summation of triple DPS. These long-winded back and forth fights. I mean, the damage charts kind of say what need to be said. Not surprising though. You have a Genos and 3 damage dealers on your team, and then you're going up against a Mave and an Eevee. So not necessarily super surprising seeing that. The Mave is very low on the damage charts. Maybe a little bit more out of Mutu. But it's just that kind of auto-confirmable, long-winded, big sweeping fights of damage for Virtus.Pro that have been winning them the day. You see these good moments from Na'Vi, but you need to be so much cleaner, so much quicker going up against a triple DPS team, and Na'Vi haven't been able to do that yet.
Lazy. Lazy getting one on Doseps, and you got a few other kills that just opened the door for Natus Vincere's defense. Now they're looking at an opportunity to not only, well, really not to get a zone. They can't really move that far up, but they will be on the lookout for anyone who might try and sneak or get the payload. Watch these small rooms. They're covering all angles right now, and you see it right here. The alignment actually gets used just to keep himself alive for a little bit longer so he can actually escape that scenario. You've got the Dread Serpent, but the Ice Storm is used as well to not only cover for that, but to make sure they can actually get these kills. They're pushing them back. Natus Vincere are still able to hold this defense, but not when Ninu gets killed like that.
I mean, they kind of sold out. Maybe an overstatement, but they use the Dread Serpent and the Ice Storm just to try to push them out of this side of the map. Big trade from Cruncy. The confirmed kill onto Ninu kind of shifts things around. He dove a little bit too deep to try to finish off a little bit of extra damage. Natus Vincere, again, they're using a lot of ultimates to confirm this defense. They'll get the kills. This payload fund still very close for Virtus.Pro.
35 seconds left on the clock as well. I mean, it's 3-0. If Natus Vincere are able to defend, that will be their first point on Splitstone Quarry. They still have a chance, of course, to be able to make this comeback in the later rounds, even if they do manage to defend it. But like I said, 20 seconds left. There's not a lot going on. Everyone's eating a lot of damage on Natus Vincere's side, though. When you use a Dome Shield to start that off, but Array's already low in the back line. The healing from Genos, the Luminary is going to keep him alive for just a little bit longer. He has to maneuver in a way that's going to make sense, and they get the kill on Lazy. That's going to be huge.
Wow,
a Void Grip
Vex
to follow that up onto Mutu. They have that opening, but Nino is still there. He's still alive. He's still diving people, and they are unable to contest with a triple kill from Natus Vincere.
Oh my, sometimes you just need one big pop-off to save your team, and Ninu grabs himself 3 on the Eevee, and what a skirmish that was. And that's kind of the downfall if you can't, or of the triple DPS. Once Na'Vi is kind of able to stabilize and clean sweep the rest of that fight, you get a couple of picks. Vex caught out. That's the mobility of the Mave. Sure, Mutu dies, but he gets Vex low enough. Not quite the 15-5 performance out of the Buck on this map for Virtus.Pro, but 8 and 15, top damage over anyone on Natus Vincere. Na'Vi have really been trying to lean into that mobility, avoid a lot of that auto-confirmed damage that Virtus.Pro have. But these fights have just been going on for too long. If you can't kill them all kind of at once, which I know is a tall task, it's going to be hard to win these mid-fights.
The Ice Storm gets dropped in the back line. Once there's nobody, but that pressure is there. They clearly have had this little fidget spinner room washed out. But you also have Buck Wow as a factor. The switch of time in space is going to hit Phoenix. The Dread Serpent as well, just to peel for a little bit longer. You trade 1-for-1 on both teams, though. And now you get another kill on the Vex. Their healer's gone. Mutu is definitely awakening with his own triple kill. 42% for Na'Vi. Nino gets a kill on the Dosip. Cruncy being the only one to be able to find a kill for his team during that little mid-fight right there. And you got 74% and steadily climbing for Natus Vincere.
There you have it, one fast, clean mid-fight win. The overpower is gonna get Fasheko killed. You hope that he goes into the fidget spinner. Didn't quite get that angle right. Natus Vincere back off the point just a little bit. 99% for them, and if they're able to run these last few kills down, it's gonna be their second point.
They're winning these side fights and then pushing on the point. Overtime is gone, and Natus Vincere have captured that point. They had the comeback mechanic. But VP are topping the damage charts. They're doing a lot of damage, but it's just how Na'Vi are playing this that's making it hard for them to find any sort of victory.
I mean, I'm kind of looking at the slash lines as well. Definitely, you know, by maybe double digits, more kills for Virtus.Pro. But the damage discrepancy hasn't quite translated into the kill discrepancy. I mean, 12-12. 12-13 for Ninu. I mean, 8-8. You look at the damage dealers, the front lines, the healers even. The only big gap is between Dosups and Lazy, so you can do all the damage you want. But unless you're able to extend these fights, and that's what Virtus.Pro have been doing, it's kind of been a tale of two fights. Whether they're quick and easy, like this one was for Natus Vincere, or these long-winded ones where you can do a lot of damage for Virtus.Pro.
Unti is in a bad spot. Trying to find his opening, trying to find the kill that he needed, using that presence to burst a couple people, but it still wasn't enough. VP are able to defend though. They got the kill on Takutu, but the payload is inching ever so closer. And it's hard for them to defend. They've got the no-chill, they've got the through time and space, and they're about to have Enlightenment. They're about to have a lot of their ultimates up, actually, all 5 of them almost. And Cruncy opening that little invite with the kill, and Fasheko up with his own kill as well. You've got Mutu that found something for Natus Vincere, but it's not going to be enough because look at how low Lazy is. He has to back up, and Erase has chased him down. He's looking for him a wall to stall for a little bit. And look, the cavalry is here. They're coming in. They're trying to save Lazy and get him out of the situation. Oh, that's
unfortunately. a split second sooner, and maybe Phoenix gets in there and gets the battle shout. So now, you know, it's a delicate dance for Na'Vi on ultimate usage here with 40 seconds left. I mean, if you can find an early pick, you just push that and maybe, you know, spend a seismic crash or something. But you have to be very careful that if you are going to use your ultimates, you have to win this round because there's, you know, a mid-fight to lose if you lose, especially if Virtus.Pro don't spend anything. Virtus.Pro will feel okay because they're not going to lose this game if this payload goes in or not. So I think Na'Vi are really the ones to keep an eye out for. If those ultimates drop only for them, it's not good. But with the pick onto Phoenix, things get a lot harder.
Runcy found another kill. Once again, I mean, he started off a lot of these fights because of his own. Raze, Fasheko, the 3 of them are doing extremely well. They're able to defend. It all comes down to this fight. They've got the ultimates it is that they need. All 10 ultimates are up online, all 5 for both teams. It's just a matter how they approach this next fight.
And the patience for Mutu here is honestly really great. He drops the Midnight, and I don't think Fasheko expected the full-blown wide flank from Mutu there. I mean, you give him the triple because he hit the daggers, but Erase could have been knocked over by a stiff breeze there. Gets the triple nonetheless. That gives him 15 kills in this game. And this is a good spot to kind of look back and forth at the kills on. Cruncy to Ninu, 15 to 13. Healers both at 3. Erase to Mutu, both at 15. Fasheko to Phoenix, you know, 11 to 9. So there are these slight numbers, and Dosups a little bit further ahead. These slight numbers are still very close. Natus Vincere still with half fast cap, so a chance to push that advantage into one more point. But Scout's used first.
Yeah, Scout is going to be the first ultimate that's going to be used. You got the Midnight, you got the seismic crash. You hear ultimates being used all over the place. 27% to 12% on for both teams. The Enlightenment opens things up. You get them low, but they just focus on Cruncy. They hone in on him. Everyone's looking at Ninu because of the ice block.
Oh my God, he
uses the wormhole to actually back up
Unreal.
to make sure that he jukes the movement, jukes the line of sight that they had on him. And the rest of Natus Vincere just grouped up, and now they're pretty much deathballing this without even a Grover on their team.
And that's such a hard place to fight Na'Vi with a Damba and throw a battle shout in there as well. Na'Vi are fine to fight like that. I mean, maybe not for a you know, Eevee and a Maeve, but the way that worked out was perfect. Ninu somehow staying alive. Lots of healing. Your time and space connects from Vex, and the overpower didn't result in the kill.
Yeah, 89% to 60%.
Uh-oh.
And they're losing. They're actually losing the fight because of that. The overpower was good, but the through time and space just ended up sniping things out. I don't actually know if they can make
Lazy's
it back.
gonna have to drop down.
Mucho and Lazy have to find a way to touch, and he does. He's gonna be able to cause that overtime. That's gonna be good for him. Lazy can actually drop down. Phoenix is there as well. The wall up behind him to make sure he doesn't eat any more damage than he needs to. But you've only got 2 frontliners. They're holding up the shield, but they're still getting hit by all the damage. Nino is there too, but he stopped the blink and he dies just as his blink comes right back up. The overtime is done, and you got the first game for VP right there.
I will say, as a slight moral victory for Natus Vincere, you're down 3-0 and you're able to really swing things back. It was looking dire there for the first 3 points of this game for Na'Vi. So if we're talking moral victories, which don't mean really much at all, Na'Vi, at least will feel okay that they were able to get something going in that game. But Virtus.Pro grabbed the win, and that's what's so important in this set. 2 momentum-based teams. If Na'Vi really got rolling, despite Virtus.Pro being so good, could have been looking like a 4-0, maybe a 4-1. Still could be. We're tied up at 1 here.
Yeah, indeed we are. We are tied up. Splitstone Quarry, a very, very intense match. Natus Vincere almost brought it back, but they weren't able to. That allows VP to be able to get their first win in the set so far. But we still got plenty more games to go, I'm sure, guys. Stay tuned right after this break.
Alienware, the official PC provider of the Paladins Premier League.
Bounce back is completed by Virtus.Pro. Both of these stellar teams grab their map pick through the first 2 games, and I have to say there looked like a moment where Na'Vi might be able to bring that one back, but ultimately I think Virtus.Pro just had that one locked down too much. Splitstone Quarry is looking like a very good map for them, and for Crunchy specifically, man.
Yeah.
2 days in a row, he just has a killer performance on an off roll on Splitstone.
Yeah, triple DPS on that map is really solid, and they even swapped things up too. I mean, they still had a buck.
Yeah.
And he just didn't play it. They put him on the Leon instead. And yes, out-damaged by a raise, but I think that's due in part to the big game, kind of shredding through the tanks. Crunchy constantly pressuring the flanks away, both DPSs. Sometimes got the better, but, I mean, 18 and 11 on him, bullying them out, not letting them get out of that quarry, which I liked the idea of what Na'Vi wanted to do. I just don't think it was even possible to execute against VP's comp.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. We talked about how Virtus.Pro's composition all felt like it complemented each other top to bottom. There were strong points of Na'Vi's, but ultimately they were strong for different reasons, trying to accomplish some different goals. It's crazy to have Crunchy, one of the newest players to this roster. I don't know what his DPS pedigree is, but he is stepping up and having these types of performances against Na'Vi's. Like, it's enough for an off tank to be able to flex and be serviceable to a Leon or to Cassie. But to be able to flex and take over the game against the #1 team in the league, you can't ask for much more than that. Crunchy is really earning his keep on Virtus.Pro at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. His off-tank play is great. And honestly, the thing is, it's not like he's playing super passive on the backline. I think that's normally what a off-tank would do when they flex.
Yeah.
I did it.
Kind of try to just not feed.
Yeah, when I flexed to DPS, whenever I was playing triple DPS in my previous teams, I would kind of play a very defensive backline style because it's tough to know what you can get away with when you're used to having such a huge health pool.
Exactly.
He's not playing passive. I mean, he's playing this style where he's kind of going in to find a frag and then getting out, playing with that lower health pool, and still getting away with low HP when he's doing the same on a tank with almost double that.
He's getting it,
That's
folks.
knowledge.
Huge damage numbers and making sure that he's not feeding, right? And he's not even, right? He's big positive, right? He's
Yeah.
more positive than Arrays ended up being in that game. Maybe it's Navi sleeping on him a little bit, but I think people better start getting woke to Crunchy's DPS game. Let's head to the map screen and keep on chugging here. Jaguar Falls is up next. Lots of parallels to that Bright Marsh. Navi managed to 4-0 VP there. Now, I said pretty definitively Bright Marsh feels like the snowbally map. Jaguar Falls can be that way, but seems to be so a little bit less percentage. Now, we do have to talk about it. A character that's kind of hit the mainstream on this map because of Navi. You smell the emoji coming.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, either team could do it, honestly.
You think so?
I wouldn't be shocked to see it even go early from VP if they just want to take it away. It's kind of tough to counter here. So many corners, so many ways for her to get away and re-heal with all that sustain in her kit. Accidentally shoot her shield when she's below half and she gets healed for 750 with the right build. Very tough to burst her down.
I don't know exactly what her DPS output is, but it feels like it's pretty good. But the biggest thing is, like, it's almost like Xin, where it's impossible to miss at this level of play, right?
Yeah.
When you get in there, you're hitting all of those shots in the PPL. And hell, I think even in high ranked, that's true, right? And you're not missing stuff with Moji, even at a decent level of play. But she brings that sustain, brings good low cooldown mobility. I think some cool outplay potential, but with the snack time and the magic barrier. Definitely a fun kit, one of the more unique characters in the game. And
Definitely the best thing to come out of OB64.
There you go. First couple of bans coming through here, and the power tanks still the conversation. Navi making VP make that choice for them. Atlas already out of the pool. Navi being the first pick. They're either getting Makoa or getting their pick of whatever is left.
Definitely
And it will
Makoa.
be the turtle.
For sure. I wouldn't see any reason for them to give it up unless they had some specific Sky play, because Cassie's banned on the other side by Na'Vi. They don't have that big game counter. Giving it up would be almost a death sentence. VP might respond with, I was going to say maybe the Aura Barrack again, but after how it went last time on a very similar map, I understand completely wanting to go the other way with the Genos, being able to heal through walls. Huge on Jaguar Falls. All
Lots
these
of
little
walls.
all these places you can hide and break line of sight. And Genos is just really crucial for that because he can play so much safer than every other support, sans Grover. In this map, being able to play way out, force the enemy team to push through many more choke points, and put themselves in a lot more danger just to pressure the support.
Choke points are good for time and space as well. Vex has made himself a name for crushing it on lots and lots of support characters. Phoenix will get Khan yet again, 3 games in a row. He's happy to do it. Virtus.Pro, though, I love the response of Genos Barrack. It's very easy to kind of counterpick against that Khan and feel good about it, right? The amount of flexibility you bring. Severe lack of Ashe today, though, I will say, between these two teams. And it's not like because we're having a lot of other great tanks making it through. It's just sticking with it. Navi go to an early Strix, which kind of takes Moji off the board because those are both traditionally Mutu characters.
I don't see why
You
Nunu
are not
wouldn't
welcome
be able
here.
to play the Strix. I wouldn't be shocked if they really wanted to go Strix Moji. It could be a way to bait VP
Could
into
be.
thinking the Moji's safe for a last pick by taking a flexible character like that early. I mean, if you can play Leon, you can play Strix. It really is still the similar kind of point-and-click style, just with a little less mobility. VP might go for this Eevee, which, interesting, again, also this early on Jaguar Falls. To me, that means, again, they know for sure they want it. They're just willing to pick around it. And potentially Ruckus over Ashe, which, to me, also kind of screams this is a Strix counter.
Yeah.
The rockets help you find him when he's invisible. Not because of the reveal
Bring
card,
out
because that's
the
been
big
removed, but
guns.
just the AoE splash, bringing up the numbers, being able to track him to see the numbers, all kind of important. Great, I think good aggressive draft by VP so far, but it's going to come down a lot to how Crunchy will synergize with the rest of his team, with Fish specifically because of the Eevee dive.
Eevee, again, not super common on Jaguar Falls, but it's Vasheka we're dealing with. He's going to feel good about it either way.
Your
Double
friends aren't
shielding
safe.
front line.
Your family isn't safe.
Doesn't always mean,
makes
but
you
it is a
think
good
you
answer to the Swiss cheeser herself, Vivian.
Spirits.
Tried to
feast
do it on
your
Bright Marsh.
ashes.
Didn't quite have the effect, but maybe not directly because of that. I don't mind this either because it feels like it makes Strix harder to dive when you have the potential to just get thrown in the meat grinder if you're not aware of where Vivian's looking as well. That's a lot of damage potential. Gruncy's going to have his work cut out for him. He's going to die a lot. I think that much is guaranteed. just about what he can get
That's the face of a man who's ready to feed.
when he goes
I'll
in.
be honest. He knows
My
the
life
fate
for
that
the
awaits
cause.
him.
Man, and he's a hell of a ruckus player at doing just that. Okay, dying if it means that his team is going to win the fight when it's all said and done. Virtus.Pro just have to choose their final, likely DPS, and Barrack and Ruckus are not far off of that DPS category anyway.
In this game,
Yeah.
you
We're gonna
win
go with
or
that
you
final
die.
selection of
There is no
Leon.
middle ground.
Good for the trades with the Vivian and the Strix.
Yeah.
I think it is part of why they're picking it up. Also, just the most consistent backline left. I mean, it was Leon and then Shaw Victor. I think I would rather have Leon on this map a lot of the time. Just having that enlightenment to win those duels. Let's say somehow I end up in a close range duel with a Strix. I'm going to need
Yeah.
enlightenment, or it's probably over.
Yeah, the potential to turn it around. It's right there with enlightenment. Like what I'm seeing from VP here. It's
Yep.
very classic. I'm liking to use the word best in slot for these guys. A character they just feel so good about having on Jaguar Falls. But I really, really am intrigued to see what Na'Vi are able to do with a Strix, who, again, not quite the mainstream for these Jaguar Falls, these bright marshes. But Mutu's just that good. They feel comfortable. Give it to him. Let's get it down to Jag Falls.
Well, you got two teams that have already shown, even though it's game 3, that they're neck and neck.
Yeah.
If there was going to be a time where, in my personal opinion, that you could see the break in neck and neck,
Yeah.
would be this map, especially with the aggression that you can pull out on here.
Yeah, it's always about the kind of follow-up after this game. Whoever loses this game, how they follow up in game 4. But a great, kind of on the flip side of that coin, a great opportunity here to really put this set in your own wheelhouse, to really take control of the direction of this set. I agree with Nick. I think Virtus.Pro have drafted themselves a very classic, tried and true, top to bottom, every champ for every player is what they're good at. Crunty, great on Leon last game. We'll stick you back on the Ruckus. One of his better off tanks, and big sweeping flank around the backside of Natus Vincere. Not enough damage to get it done. The thought was there. Support, though, not quite as much.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the problem that you could have when you're just trying to flake around like that, and I guess Natus Vincere are just ready. He got the kill onto Fisheko, though. Mutu following that little fight, like little pick right there, up with the second one, and now they're just sweeping around. Now they're just trying to find their opening, find their aggression. But Crunty actually kills Mutu on the side, which is once again affording him the ability to be able to do this, go all the way around to the back. He's able to be as aggressive as he needs to be. This game's VP control the point, 63%, 27. And a blink in, wormhole back is going to allow the chance of that Eevee to be able to just get those shots that she needs to for it to keep him back.
And this is good positioning from Virtus.Pro. They're kind of making Na'Vi decide which angle they want to fight from, and then the rest of Virtus.Pro collapses from the other side. Some great trades here. Dosups and Crunty getting on the board. A double kill for the Ruckus.
Oh, wow.
And a good retake from Virtus.Pro.
He actually dodged, and he still died, but he dodged the flashbang. Super good for him, but I mean, once again, he still got picked, but Fisheko's able to follow up, make sure they finish off that kill on Mutu. He's gotten the double, a void grip right in front of the point. Phoenix just a little bit, and by a little bit, I literally mean a fraction away from touching the point to be able to cause that overtime, but VPF captured.
And I kind of look at Fisheko on this Eevee, and, brilliant kind of series of play from him there to secure that mid-fight. Jag Falls is not a bad map for Eevee by any means, but, you think of Drogo's, Bomb King, Moji's even started to kind of come out into the meta a little bit. Pip, kind of a fan favorite, or a favorite of some of the players in the PPL. But then we saw Fisheko pick Eevee on Ice Mines yesterday, and again, it was sort of traditionally somewhere where Eevee is played, but if I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to anyone, it's going to be Fisheko, and Jag Falls, maybe not quite as much as Ice Mines, but it's kind of in a similar vein for me. Not what I expect an Eevee map to be, lots of kind of indoor fights. You have to really pick and choose your battles. But Fisheko, again, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be him, and already off to a great start here on this Eevee, and I expect more of the same throughout this game.
He's just going around on the side, but Crunty's just lying in wait, just waiting for him to at least push up. He's going to be able to get rid of that deployable. He's going to be able to push it on Lazy, especially because he no longer has the DR. He walls himself off, but he's still towards the enemy spawn. They can literally turn around at any point. Good healing from Aldamba, though.
Yep.
But he's going to get collapsed on. Now they realize he's in the back line, but because they turn around, you've got 2 people on Lazy. Who's watching the side? Phoenix was able to kill Arrays. Fasheko gets Lazy, but Phoenix has a double kill. He got the DPS, he got the support, and now the door has been opened for Natus Vincere to hold their position even for just a little bit longer.
Lazy was living rent-free upstairs just now, and Virtus.Pro sent so many to go back and finally deal with it. The DR kept him alive for a little while, some great healing as well. You know, does end up falling, thank God for Virtus.Pro by the end of it. But everyone was focused on that Inara, and that allowed Na'Vi to get some effective trades behind them. Remember though, Jagfall is relatively short. If you start to see some kills start to roll for Virtus.Pro, it's certainly not impossible. But losing a couple people from your team here is not giving yourself the best chance.
No, it is not. I mean, Phoenix once again was able to get one. Natus Vincere were able to get another. And because of this, Krutzy has to go all the way around the side. He's trying to apply this pressure with this Ruckus, but he's got 2 people to deal with. They're trying to go for Spunky, but a good commander's grab to keep them off of the support. Good enough peel for him to be able to create that situation. You've got 2 more kills for Na'Vi. You've got another one.
Oh.
You've got a 4th one. You got 4 kills. You got to defend it successfully. You got a round done, and the next one is on its way.
And what a defense from Natus Vincere. A snowballing map. Virtus.Pro pushed that one in. Things start to hang in the balance a little bit. The off-tank battle towards the end there. It's kind of been the Phoenix versus Krutzy story. Krutzy with these big sweeping flanks on the mid fights. Phoenix trying to counter that out. Phoenix most recently, though, has been doing the most. Look at that. He's on a 13 streak at 8, 2, and 6. So since dying twice of his 14 affected kills, he has most recently affected 13. So he's only died once in the meantime of that. So the off-tank battle has been tilted towards Phoenix, and that's a scary thing. You know, I'm not going to say he had a bad day yesterday. They got the win. It was a quiet day by Phoenix's standards, I think, yesterday. This is more, I think, what you expect, really controlling these games. He's done a great job so far.
Oh, nice through time and space from Vex. The Hexafire softened them up. Vex was able to finish it off. And you have a one-side fight, or at least a fight that was one on the side. You're sitting down on point right now. You're building percentage for your team. And now you're able to just sort of sit back, relax, and wait for them to come to you. Natus Vincere actually on the back foot now. Krutzy, once again, going around on the side. He's watching for Phoenix. He gets rid of the sensor drone. They knew where he was, so it's going to force him to back up. 48% for Virtus.Pro already. It's 1-to-1 tied. Whoever's going to capture this point is going to be able to break it, and they're going to be able to get rid of Doseps. You got the Ice Storm drop. You look behind the shield. You hit Phoenix. You get rid of him. Ninu's done now. You soar over the wall. You're looking for the support. You get him too. You blink in the back line. You use the Warthog to come back, and you got Mutu as well. You got a double. 48% for Natus Vincere.
Unreal.
And a triple kill for Fasheko. Man, oh man, this fight is close. This is sick. I love
Unreal from this guy. I mean, triple kill from the Eevee to help your team win this mid. I don't see any chance for Natus Vincere to break this line. Virtus.Pro, without even an overtime, are going to grab their 2nd point. I guess maps be damned when it comes to Eevee.
Yeah.
I mean, Fasheko can do it all. He can do it anywhere. And it's a good kind of all-around team fight from everyone on Virtus.Pro. But sometimes just an individual performance shines through. The Ice Storm into the side room, locked up so many of Natus Vincere. The soar over the wall, the mobility too much, finds Spunky. Great from Fasheko. And if it's more of the same, this is going to be a Virtus.Pro win if Na'Vi can't counter that out.
You have 2 people on opposite sides right now. Arrays with a good enlightenment, though, is able to at least get that kill. You have Ninu right there. Mutu was on the other side, but he got hit by that enlightenment. You take care of the people on the side. You got rid of 2 of them. Now you're still able to slowly but surely creep this payload up. You got a minute 40 left. You got a 1-2 score. If VP capture this, they'll be up 3-1. But comeback mechanic will be online for Natus Vincere.
That's an important thing to consider as well. That gave them a chance on Splitstone Quarry. Dread Serpent from Spunky catches a few. They're only able to get 1 confirmed, though, right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, they're able to get rid of Arrays, which is going to force the rest of them back. He's opening fire onto Doseps right there. Once again, That's also forcing them back. You've still got a minute 15. Only a few seconds have passed. You still got time. And I believe the ult economy for Natus Vincere actually is looking pretty good. They've got overpower, but they're going to have Seismic Crash up soon. They've got 3 ults on Virtus.Pro side. They've got some good defensive ones. But I mean, this fight can still go either way. There's still plenty of time left.
Yeah, the time is what worries me the most. One single trade. Fasheko finds it onto Ninu. Might be all they need.
Yeah, I mean, they got rid of the shield, though. And Fasheko in the backline again. He found 2 kills. Vex wants him a piece too. He makes sure he gets a kill of his own. You got rid of 3 of them. Now you're forcing them to just stay near their spawn. Seismic Crash to follow up directly on the point. It hits a raise. You got a stun. But who's going to follow up? You got Void Grip. You're in a bad position. And now you're being focused down. But Ninu is opening up the side by focusing down the raise. You got rid of Fasheko. You dropped the Dome Shield for at least your chance to be able to push in. And Crunchy has that kill on the Phoenix. Ninu's gonna go down next. You got it through time and space. The Kamehameha is gonna rip through, and you're gonna find a kill on Mutu.
They're certainly gonna push this one in, and what a fight from
Wow,
Virtus.Pro.
man. This is
Gutsy. I mean, by the skin of their teeth, that one was close. That fight, that win brought to you early game, or early fight, I should say, by Fasheko. But then at the end of the fight by Crunchy and Vex. Here's the big play from Fasheko. Using his Soar cooldown aggressively. I mean, look at that. 5 seconds left still, but the blinks into the ice block. Confirms the double. There's just too much mobility. Gets the easy triple to seal up that mid fight. And then you look at the point capture there. Crunchy got a nice double kill. Vex, you'd be remiss if you didn't mention his through times and spaces. He's been hitting them consistently, and that's what you expect. I would say, you know, as low kind of percentage as that ult is, Vex has got to be in, you know, a tier of his own when it comes to game-changing through time and space.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. He's gotten the picks he needs to be able to set up his team more and more positioning, just better as the game goes on. We've got Crunchy on the side, though, so he's actually eating a lot of damage. He has to back up, wants to at least afford a little bit of space. But Mutu with a good kill on Fasheko, a little bit too aggressive of an aggressive dive. Good shots as well, watching main, making sure no one else steps out. A good flare, the enlightenment, but he steps around the corner so he doesn't get hit by it. A raise is forced back, or at least into the dark room right there. They're going to be able to get Crunchy. They get rid of Dosips. Lazy finds a raise, but a raise takes one to him with the grave, into the grave. And you've got 78% comeback mechanic online. And Natus Vincere, I believe, are going to be able to capture this point.
Yeah, nobody in range, and that's the importance of killing Fasheko, because literally Mutu at the very beginning of that fight picked off Fishy, and everything just like dominoes fell from there for Natus Vincere. You're fighting from a 4v5, you're trying to stay in it. The ultimates weren't quite there. They used a lot at the end of the last push. So that's a fight I think Virtus.Pro are okay with losing, because they sold out so much to get their 3rd point just a moment ago. You do have to be careful here, though. Na'Vi didn't have to spend really anything at all on that mid fight. Now they got some kills rolling. Seismic Crash, Overpower. You are in a spot where you have to question it, though. Virtus.Pro are now going to get the swinging of ultimates is in full effect here, especially with how fast Na'Vi could capture this.
Extremely difficult fight for them for sure. It is an uphill battle as Natus Vincere are trying to push this one in to even up the score to a 3-3 to the back. He's taking watch, making sure that Erase is in his line of sight, or at least whoever it is going to end up peeking around that corner. He's watching that pillar, and they're able to push in without anyone stopping.
Wish I could tell you, Fun. They just didn't, Virtus.Pro didn't want to take that fight. I think, you know, for whatever reason, the zone was scary enough from Natus Vincere that nobody really felt comfortable enough on either end running out. And again, it's maybe a scenario where, yes, I mean, this is it, end-all, be-all mid-fight, but Natus Vincere would have had half-fast cap even if they had defended. I just, maybe just a wash in that point where the defense isn't working for you. Let's just reset, go back in. Still some ultimates, very close kind of on both sides. Enlightenment and Sentinels, I think Ninu will still have those up. He used them at the end of the payload push. They will charge up one more time. This is it, Fawn. One last point to break the tie.
I mean, I like it. I like the concede coming out from VP to have the opportunity to do this.
Whoa.
They drop the oath down. Thanks, already use a battle shot. You got nothing else to save you. But Mutu, he's able to get the kill onto a raise. The flashbang whips right over the shoulder of Gruncy, but you got the two-time his face from Vex. He's keeping him back. A double kill. The pistol comes out. He's not going to be able to find those shots, but Ninu's going to be able to clean it up. You got 39%. No one else on VP are at least able to be able to touch without fighting back. They have to find their way in. They've got 60% on Natus Vincere's side. It's 3-3. They open up with an enlightenment, but the shield's still here. 78%. The clock's still ticking. Josephs makes it back. So does Pacheco, but you're still sitting on point. You're still gaining percentage. You're still getting kills and headshots, and you're still getting an overtime. You're still popping off. And at this point, Natus Vincere are going to be able to capture this game.
Unbelievable. This is a tale of two DPSs. Mutu for Na'Vi, Pacheco for Virtus.Pro. The absolute shot out of a cannon to start off this game for Fishy, and the slow dribbling start from Mutu. Absolutely flipped around. You look at the ending that Strix was able to have throughout the final few fights, and the lack of presence really entirely from Pacheco, and a lot of it is because of Mutu. A great start there for Virtus.Pro. They stacked the Ice Storm with the Hexafire. Phoenix can't dash out. He's crippled by the Ice Storm. They get the pick. And just too aggressive, too far forward. You can't identify Mutu as the main threat. And now you got to wonder about that kind of 3-2 payload they let go in. That set that one up for the final fight of the game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're going to have to be able to find out if they can catch back up, find their momentum. But congratulations to that win on Jaguar Falls as well. Right after this break, we'll be right into the next game.
The Paladins Premier League is brought to you by Evil Mojo, developers of Paladins.
Welcome back, folks. Back and forth we go. In this one as Na'Vi move ahead 2-1 here on Jaguar Falls. Pretty electric Strix play there to finish out the game. Again, I'm glad we get the chance to talk about it, Kresnik, because we really didn't on Bright Marsh, but Mutu is now played it on both the smaller maps where traditionally it's thought of as just can't work. It's too small. He's too easily dove. But no longer. I think it's fairly proven now that Mutu can pilot it on these small maps and, frankly, take over.
I mean, you just can't dive a Strix, really. He just has so much overwhelming damage. Look at the composition that VP brought to the game. That's a dive comp.
Yeah.
They have a barrack, and then everyone else can just kind of go in and keep up that aggression, and Mutu just does not die. The stealth, the damage, so much that you have to deal with. Only 3K behind a Leon, and a decently higher streak from Mutu. I think that just goes to show how effective we're going to see Strix being as the...
19 and 8.
I don't need to say anything else.
Let's look at that. I mean, let's think about that last fight. They kind of heavily, they ice stormed and then hexafired Phoenix to kill him.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, haha, the back line is ours now. Gruncy dives in onto this Strix and Vivian, and he dies in record time.
Yeah. Also, I want to point out really quickly that Phoenix had deft hands. I just wanted to say it before I
did
forgot.
see that.
It just made sense. 250, you got to do something. But in that final fight specifically, they use those ultimates on Phoenix just to get him out of the way. Khan buys a ton of time. He's stalling them out.
Dude.
And you can see this immediately. Vex tries to follow up, but Mutu gets 2, catches Doe, and just shreds through the entirety of Virtus.Pro. There's nothing they can do. Try to run away, but
famous
I was
flicker,
hoping that
man. The famous flea flicker on Jaguar Falls. Yeah, that bank shot, that's kind of the new level of Strix, though. People are getting that good at the character. Jukes out the Enlightenment, comes back in, and just continues to rip these shots. Everything is hitting, shredding this poor Barrack to pieces, hitting some quick range or close range quick scopes as well. An absolutely nutty performance from Mutu down the stretch, man. Holy, look at the kid go.
He's so hungry for more, too. You
He's
see him looking
just
around like
in
that,
it.
you know he wants more.
You just get in that zone, man, and it's all over for you fools. Or Mutu, man. Don't do it to him like that. Virtus.Pro thought they had a chance. They get the first kill on the Phoenix. They start to make decisive moves to the back line. We knew that was going to happen in the late game, though. Ruckus is going to die. He's going to get melted. But that fast, I mean, that was record timing. Cruncy barely even got to do a point of damage before his mech has just exploded. Vivian and Strix, it's tough to dive, man. That is a lot of damage waiting for you in the back line. And because it was such a decisive move on Phoenix, too, it's like they kind of knew it was coming. You know what I mean? Everyone's like looking exactly where Cruncy came from. The second he's available to take some damage, he's getting ripped to pieces.
There's also the fact that they also spent those resources
on Faye
to go in for that dive. Like they were spent on Phoenix, but it was just to get him out of the way. They spend that to go in, and nothing happens. They just get melted.
It was a real "you're trapped in here with me" situation.
Exactly.
But they were clamoring to get to that Na'Vi backline, and it did not look like it was a fruitful endeavor. Willow's going to be banned out. These bans have really not changed much for the duration of this set. Navi's done a decent amount of first picking. Most of the time when you have the option, teams are electing to grab that first champion pick. VP are going to try and get a power tank if Na'Vi let it through. We'll see how they elect to ban it out, if it just continues to be more of the same. Cassie has been that sort of fourth ban slot that we've seen, so we'll see if that continues to be a theme here in the next game.
I wouldn't be surprised to see something different. Maybe more blasters. I think blaster starving on first pick on this map can be pretty good. They're just so impactful, all of them. I mean, less Dredge.
Yeah.
Dredge is, we've seen him be playable on this map, but not to the level of Bomb King Drogo's Willow. Speaking of Bomb King, banned on the other side by Na'Vi. Again, blaster's so crucial on this map, having that zoning tool. They just want to get rid of it. And VP, I would assume the response here would be, you can ban a power tank, because if you don't, then they don't. You get one, and then they're going to get a blaster and the other. And that's going to be a super dominant start for Na'Vi if that's how that goes.
You have to think infinite steps ahead in these drafts. VP ban away the Makoa. Na'Vi will respond with the Atlas. Drogos is still available.
Could be a first pick too.
Could be. EVE was insane yesterday for Fasheko on this map. And I wonder if Na'Vi would be able to pull it off. They would definitely be able to pull off Combustible Drogos, though. That's really where I think the conversation is we can not only take this away, get something valuable, objectively speaking, but it is also probably, they wouldn't be able to make us pay with an EV, you know what I mean? If we take Drogos, so far Fish is the only one that's really done anybody dirty on Ice Mines with EV.
That's true. I mean, we've seen it played, but we haven't seen it played to that level, to that performance. I will say, I don't think VP have to necessarily take the Drogos this early. They could go for like a Khan, get that guaranteed good tank, amazing ultimate, or Ashe if they want to be a little bit more aggressive. That's another great ultimate too. If they can get in far enough, not dismounted, that's going to be tough. It's very tough to avoid that. Get that assert dominance in the window. They can just deny any spam anywhere on the point outside of Barn.
Well, they've allowed Phoenix to have Khan basically all day today. I imagine Na'Vi will grab it this time as well. I don't know. I can't shake the feeling that I'm watching this Ashe hit a decent assert dominance and then get overpowered immediately out of it, thrown off. It's always a risk you have to assume, though, when you play Ashe. It's a cooldown. You play around, try to play out of line of sight of, if you can. Like you mentioned, assert dominance into the window. That will most likely take you out of line of sight of the Khan. He's probably not going to be up there. He's probably going to be down in the trenches, closer to the front line. Na'Vi also grab up the Drogos, still leaving that EV available for VP if they want to take it. Other tanks we have to be wary of is Fernando, but with Inara and Barrack open, I don't know that we will see much of that.
We could see it paired with the Drogos just to have the combo. That's definitely an option that's up. Another option is Term. VP might predict Na'Vi coming out with this Inara Khan, and Term's pretty good into that. If you run that swing siphon regen, you can get a lot of sustain off of the Inara, and Term is so good on this map into Drogos specifically. Just you can absolutely shut down every fire spit, every rocket. If you're watching his angle and denying that, gets rid of so much utility that Na'Vi will have, all that displacement. Their second pick being negated by this much lower in the meta, much lower on the tier lists level tank.
Can't really think of a better tank to take Dragon Punch on the chin either, because he's just coming back.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, like you mentioned, Power Siphon shuts down the poor Drogoz. When you're running combustible, you don't really get away very well either. You're kind of a slow, clunky boy. You're not flying very high. You're likely to be in axe range if you can Shatterfall in. Lots of good things working for the Terminus on this map. Kind of this map alone. Rounded out with the Cassie. Strix Victor was a big conversation on Ice Mines as well when you're dealing with players like Invocal. But it looks like Mutu is just going to chill out on the Cassie for now. VP do grab that EV eventually. Better late than never. That's what makes it so strong, right? You're picking your 28 and 8 character last. Like, cool. The rest of the draft just gets to, so much space to get everybody else everything they need with, because nobody's competing with Pacheco for EV on this map.
Exactly. That's one of the things that's one of the advantages of having a pocket pick that's good, but not really seen a lot.
Yeah, player. Yeah, you've got the only guy.
And if they pick it early, then they're damaging their draft potentially just to hurt you.
Yeah.
So that's a big advantage. Speaking of a big advantage, if this Damba gets locked in, Na'Vi can be very aggressive on these mid-fighters. They have Spunky to get the dismounts. Now Vex will not be able to answer back, and they have no rapid-firing characters to dismount the entirety of the team. Expect early Master Riding from Na'Vi, for sure, to take these very forward positions on mid. And now, I don't know how much aggression this Ashe is going to do.
They just can't stay
And
away
if it comes to the
from
point
me.
tank, I think almost explicitly to have that combo with the Drogoz.
To keep him alive, to bail him out, Drogoz is not very fast when he's not running Worm Jets. We talked a lot about Inara and how, Terminus would match up well against her, get a lot of sustain off of her. Do you still feel that that's somewhat true against Fernando, or is he just running a shield most of the time?
Nano won't be contesting you directly as much. Inara kind of wants to be a little closer, can't really get away, but the Nando can dash. He gets a speed boost from dashing if he has that card. A little bit easier for the Nando for sure to kite away from the Terminus.
All right, we'll have to see how it goes. I'm excited to see VP play this Terminus. Not a lot of people are doing it. Let's get down to Ice Mines and see what they got.
Well, I mean, Nick's excited. You could clearly hear I was excited last game. I mean, I'm all for this
It's a good one
right now. It's a good set. I mean, it is a good set, people. You've got some really, really good drafting. You've got some unique characters every now and again. And you have Strix being brought out, not on just Brightmarsh, but Jag Falls as well. And that's really cool to me.
Yeah, Strix has obviously been kind of the talk of the league here over the last couple of weeks, where he falls. There are games where it hasn't had the most overwhelming performance as it has in the past. But then you look at like what Mutu was able to do in the last game and turn everything around for Na'Vi. He's still very strong. You consider him a threat essentially everywhere, because he's not just that long-range dueler anymore. He's kind of got that mid-range ability on his side. Obviously, the stealth changes were huge for bringing him out more. But if, the hot swap, the shot into pistol, into flare even, I mean, look, that's going to force Pacheco all the way out at the beginning of this round. You don't even get a kill, but you buy yourself some space.
Yeah, I mean, Drogoz hadn't even got a chance to play the game yet. I think he was still loaded in when he got shot by that. I mean, Raze is all the way up on the bridge. He's just firing away. I mean, it is hard for them to find their opening because of that. Raze finds the opening kill onto Spunky. Their healer is gone already. 27% for VP for Virtus.Pro and 3% for Natus Vincere. Now the percentage is climbing, and if you lose a fight on Ice Mines, that is tough.
Yeah, this is the kind of punishing zone we're going to start to see here. Virtus.Pro so in control. Oh, excuse me, it was Ninu on the Drogoz, not Pacheco on the Drogoz. He raised with the good shots to start off this game. Dosups, of course, playing the Terminus. And even if Ninu, and they pointed this out on the desk, even if Ninu was really in that fight, I mean, you have to choose targets other than Dosups, because you mitigate so much of what Drogoz does with that power siphon. So, not the end of the world that Ninu wasn't in the fight. It ended up being that way as Virtus.Pro grabbed point number 1. But kind of an interesting dynamic to be mindful of, the kind of Drogos into the Terminus. Normally you want that Drogos to kind of melt away the point tanks, get some good combustible shots, but good power siphon mitigates all of that.
Yeah, a minute 50. Virtus.Pro can't really make it back, or at least, I shouldn't say that. They're biding their time. They're waiting to find their opening. A good headshot from Moraes as well. Another good headshot, make that 2. A third shot on the Lazy right as he was dashing away.
Nice.
An even better combustible to keep that space that they are controlling. He hits one all the way into the back, onto a Raze as well. The assert dominance. Ash is looking for a fight, but a good disengage bow, followed by a flashbang.
one
He can't
more.
see anything. A Raze goes down thanks to Phoenix, and they're still able to get the kill. They're evening things up, but VP have found their pressure. Now they're slowly moving forward. Dose with the double, Crunchy with the double, and now Lazy's the one that's left. He's gonna probably get staggered out. In a minute and 5, almost still left on the clock.
And they kind of beckoned in Na'Vi. You know, they're fighting back. Na'Vi start to move forward, get a little bit more aggressive, maybe see a moment where Na'Vi can push Virtus.Pro all the way back, and then the aggressive assert dominance really set that fight up. Beautifully played by Crunchy, keeps Virtus.Pro moving here. And you know, kind of the long, difficult portion of Ice Mines is now really done with. You have an easy spot to fight from up on the high ground in the back. But Virtus.Pro with 30 seconds left in a great spot.
Lazy. It's just sitting down there. He's getting a lot of shots from Crunchy, but I mean, it is Ash. She's not going to be able to do the most damage to him, but she's going to be able to keep that pressure onto him. These fire spits and these rockets from Ninu are definitely more troubling, though. Currently what's happening right now. We've got about 15 seconds left. Lazy's on point. Pacheco's just sitting there in ice block, trying to wait until it dies down. It does. Crunchy drops a shield for him. Dread Serpent comes out. Fears Lazy. They're going to just go right around that corner, focus him down. They're just focus firing on him, but the rest of Natus Vincere, they're able to peel back, able to keep Lazy alive, and he's still able to sit there and contest this point. This fight is looking kind of lost for VP.
Virtus.Pro on the back foot. They have four members here contesting. Ninu, some great shots at the end of it, right when they needed him to go big. He does. Overtime continues here, and Pacheco gets a kill onto Phoenix. I think now we're going to start seeing the waterfall of red kills. They are able to defend. Dosup's elected not to use the reanimate there. He was the first one to die. I don't mind that decision. I mean, it's such a slow charging ultimate. I mean, you really get like one per like entire round. One per cap and push or defend effectively. So you have to choose carefully when you use it. I think a mid-fight's a great time to do it, but here's that assert dominance. And then, you know, there's enough damage from the rest of the team. Bit of a low light there with a couple of missed shots. He will be able to grab the kill in a moment, but it's that sudden aggression from Virtus.Pro that I don't think Na'Vi were ready for. Maybe didn't expect the assert dominance, but played perfectly by VP. Luckily for Na'Vi, though, they were able to stall out the defense and keep things tight.
Yeah, I mean, they have their ultimates up, 3 of them for VP's side. They've got all 5 up for Natus Vincere, and the score's tied at 1-1. There's plenty of opportunities to still be able to use that ult. Crunchy is going to go all the way around on the side. He knows Phoenix is there. Phoenix got that overpower. He's not going to use the assert dominance yet. He is just holding on to it. I think he knows that he has at this point. They're just walking each other down and just firing. They're going to converge back on Lazy, though. A fire spin on the Dosips. He has to try and make it out. A good siphon as he's being able to hold out. Using the assert dominance in the back line. The Dragon Punch comes through. As soon as he hears that assert dominance, he's peeling all the way back. He's going actually up on the bridge with the ice block.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable from that Eevee to keep himself alive. He's staying up there. They use the Dread Serpent to peel back. Array is able to get 2 kills because of that. Pacheco, Dosips, 2 more people on Virtus.Pro are able to follow up and be able to get that pressure, get that kill. 42% for Natus Vincere, but Virtus.Pro have already won the fight.
They may have been able to delay long enough there. Phoenix may have been able to stall out the point cap, mitigate just a little bit extra to give Natus Vincere 1 more shot. The dismounts are going to be in. Lazy, it looks like at least we'll have time if he doesn't die beforehand. But a big miss Dragon Punch. The ice block pushes it to the side. Still a chance, though, for Na'Vi to get back in, especially with Crunchy going down.
Yeah, it's a good stun from Aldamba. Actually, the snake bite kept him there, allowed a couple more hits from Pacheco, and the reanimate as well. You're right. Doses was just able to zone them out a little bit longer just so they could capture the point. You've got 2 minutes and 20 seconds left as well.
And Lazy had to walk through so much just to contest that, and the rest of Na'Vi wasn't really there and ready to fight by the time Lazy was, and contested as long as he could, and looked like Na'Vi might have a chance. But unfortunately for them, the Fernando out on the island without the Immortal wasn't able to keep himself in place. So now one more shot for Virtus.Pro to try to get themselves their 3rd point.
You got Mutu with a double, you got Lazy with one, you got Phoenix with one, and now you got Crusty trying to get away. I mean, he's just going to Commander grab him right back, just body block, put that opportunity up for him, and they just let him fall. So that way he's able to be staggered out just for a little bit longer. Every second counts. You got 2 ultimates up for Virtus.Pro. You've got 1 ultimate up through the overpower. You also have the Dragon Punch ready in the middle. I mean, Virtus.Pro can still obviously make this back. They've got a minute 30, but a good zone from Natus Vincere are preventing them from rounding this corner.
Yeah, I guess if there's a silver lining, you get 30% of your cooldown back if you miss the Dragon Punch. If it does not find a target, I should say. So it was able to charge up just a little bit quicker. I don't think the overpower was ever used for Phoenix. So a couple ultimates go searching. But now those can be defensive tools. You can use those to give yourself a great chance. A minute left, though, you're getting into that danger territory where probably won't charge in time for the next mid-fight. You want to hold on to him.
Yeah, I mean, Mutu and the rest of Natus Vincere, I mean, they're around these corners, just sitting there waiting. Phoenix is right next to him, the off-tank. I mean, they're just being able to get this zone. They've got 45 seconds left on VP's side to be able to make it back to this point and touch. And this is the first time it is, at least in this zone, they've been able to force them back, push them back just a little bit, enough to be able to step up to the point. We have Pacheco trying to dive. This is the shot just by a little bit, and they're not able to actually convert that into a kill. Actually, Lazy's all the way in the back. He's holding shoot up. He has Immortal. The question is he going to use it if he wants this dive? He gets stunned as well. He's just starting a zone. He still managed to get a raise off of that too. So did Mutu. But you're looking at 2 kills for 2 kills already on both sides. 2-1. And I mean, the point is still being fought for.
And, you know, I think that's a great zone from Lazy. It's one thing if he dies and doesn't at least trade out, but he had 3 members of Virtus.Pro looking and trying to damage him. He was able to take one with him. And you so often see on these defensive sides, 1-for-1 trade is somewhat in your favor. I don't know if I've ever seen an Ice Mines push from this far away, but Erase starting off with a double, and on a delayed 3 from the Strix is going to keep things interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the overtime is present. Pacheco getting that kill on Ninu, man. That staggers him out just a little bit longer. There's some of his other teammates that are just now respawning. You got the Fernando and Cassie up. The Dragon's coming up real soon. 5 on 10 ultimates are online. You got 5 on each side right now, people. I mean, 10-4 for Erase, 6-5 for Crescent, 7-5 for VP. But I mean, Natus Vincere, they aren't doing too bad either. Their defenses are really strong.
Just need 1 pick here if you're Na'Vi. 1 pick will likely decide which teams use ultimates, which don't. Virtus.Pro will feel a little bit better about throwing something at the wall to grab point number 3. They won't lose at all on the next round of things, even if they lose the cap and the push. Looks like they're going to get aggressive here and maybe start to find some aggression.
Yeah, the battle shout comes a little bit more immunity as they're pushing in, but Mutu finding that opening kill on the Pacheco, that's pretty huge, but you've got a fully powered up Siphon. It's just a matter of when he wants to let it loose, and he's just looking, waiting, holding up that Siphon. He's about to die down just in a little bit, and he's just letting it recharge back up. He tried to hit Ninu just as he was coming out of spawn, but they're going to respect it. They're going to back up, and they're going to let it be tied to.
That's so often how we see it, where on the defense, if a pick comes out early, this time it was on to Pacheco, that's just kind of the, you know, we'll be here, we'll try. And that's the split second where the ice block saves Erase's life. And then he turns and gets the kill onto Ninu. I mean, a split second at the beginning of this replay. You can see the ice block from Pacheco. The Dragon Punch kind of glances off of it, and Ninu chooses to go out the window. He doesn't think that either he didn't notice Erase was up there, or the kind of turn, timing, all of that just didn't make sense. So the ice block, yes, it saved Pacheco's life, but also saved Erase's life, who then went on to get, you know, a double kill and so much affected damage in that fight. I do think maybe Dragon Punch connecting, that looks a little different. Maybe keep your eyes on the dismounts here as well. They're going to get 3 of 5, but Erase makes his way all the way up to the top.
The first ult heard around the world already. You got the Dread Serpent that opens things up, doesn't find anything, but when I said heard around the world, you hear the Illusory Rift pop right after that, and you still got opens online. Here comes the Dragon Punch. The Iceberg gets dropped, and he actually hits Terminus, but he's got the revive. He's still there and ready. He actually comes right back up and is able to block a lot of those shots off. Joseph is going to have to back up 6% and 6%. They assert dominance in the backline, and they've still got overpower ready. Ninu, Mutu, the two of them get kills, but chalk that up to Phoenix getting that nice overpower onto Erase, sending him off of the side, and you still got more to come. Good flick from Mutu to be able to finish that off as well.
I love that combination, the combustible shot to knock back Vex, and then Mutu, kind of the pull, and then I'll shoot it for you. Right, exactly. Natus Vincere with a chance to zone. I'll kind of reflect on that first engagement after this mid-fight comes to a close, because I got a feeling there's still a little more action to be had from Virtus.Pro.
Same, 81% as Natus Vincere. That's what they're sitting at right now. But Virtus.Pro, you got the pressure from Erase. Joseph's on the side. If Shekel's able to touch, he's got the ice bucket, who's just long enough to be able to cause that overtime, or at least cause the pressure from Virtus.Pro that they're exuding right now, to be able to force Natus Vincere to deal with it. They've got Crunchy, though. They're currently dealing with it. Joseph has to back up. He doesn't have any more revive. He used it at the very, very beginning of that fight. You've got 99% still. I mean, you've got Erase hitting his shots. Nice. He was actually able to just hit Phoenix long enough, but the Ying healing, the illusions right behind him, able to keep him up long enough, and not able for Erase to stay in this fight any longer.
Too much stagger versus too much sustain. Both things in favor of Natus Vincere. They grab point fight number 3 in kind of an untraditional Ice Mines fashion. They're actually aggressing after that mid capture. Since it took a fight to secure the mid, they already had the numbers to push out with here. So some good trades maybe keep the payload moving. But looking way back at the beginning, it seems like so long ago now because the fight went on for another minute or so, but a massive Immortal from Lazy really saved that team fight from Natus Vincere. Dragon Punch connects onto the Terminus, who then immediately reanimates. An Ice Storm is down as well. Everyone from Na'Vi getting chunked away, but Lazy comes in, saves the day, and that's where Control really tilted the gauge all the way over to the Na'Vi side. And they got a chance to go up 3-1 in the set here. Virtus.Pro have something to say about it, though.
The shield goes up from Phoenix. Battle Shout comes through right after that, soon enough. But you're already slammed down onto it. You get the kill, and now Spunky's trying to slowly make his way back to his team, or at least back to the point, at least die on point, try and get that contest going. Is he still?
Is he gonna get
happening? Wait, no way.
No, there's staggering.
Literally not. Okay, there we go.
In a different world without any healing from the Damba, he maybe gets the kill, but Vex too smart for those games and escapes alive. But if nothing else, honestly, Spunky was able to charge up some of that illusory rift. It's going to be up just a little bit quicker, a few points quicker. May or may not be game-changing, but it's, at 54 instead of 48 or whatever right around now. So small differences. They're going to be back to full strength much quicker than Virtus.Pro. And in reality, that could make a difference.
Good. A good siphon for Joseph to be able to block that fire spit. The Rockets are still coming through. I mean, there's a lot of things still coming through for Natus Vincere. You've got 4 ultimates for Natus Vincere. You've got 4 ultimates for VP. Almost 5 on both sides. You almost got 10 ultimates up once again. Good fire spit actually just halves Fasheko entirely. Joseph has the revive, but he's going to save it. He's not going to try and utilize that yet.
It's not the time.
And Fasheko's going to go down to you.
Yeah, that's the time for a reanimate. You're going to come right on back into a waiting group of Natus Vincere players. So overtime's going to start much further, or much closer rather, from where Virtus.Pro was. 5 ultimates strong for both teams. Natus Vincere with a chance to end this game with a big push right here and right now.
I agree. Joseph is just watching out, looking for that siphon. He actually does keep the siphon right there. Blocks that fire spit. You've got overtime present as well. And you're just waiting. You're just watching. Everyone's looking for their chance, and that will be it. Lazy actually just gets hit. He gets taken out. He's forcing Phoenix back, and now we've got a 3-3. My goodness. The beginning of a round, the second time on Ice Mines where we had all 10 ultimates up, and it is going to be crazy.
And honestly, nothing is out of possibility here. Everything is possible, but if Na'Vi win here on Ice Mines, I see the odds kind of diminish for Virtus.Pro. I almost argue that this is a must-win mid-fight for them to really have a great shot in this set. I just don't see Na'Vi as a team that, saving, recent events, I still don't see him as a team that drop three straight maps,
right?
Especially with momentum at their back. So really big fight here from Virtus.Pro to keep odds in their favor at least, or at least even in this set. Look for the dismounts as well. They get dose up, so he's going to be late to the point. But Crunty is able to sneak through.
Yeah, the Siphon gets blocked off. I mean, the Fire Spec gets blocked off, excuse me. And you got the Assert Dominance all the way in the back. Crunty's already back there.
No.
He's on top of Spunky, but a good overpower through the window. Don't ever try to attack my support. He goes straight down into the ground. Crunty goes down. The Dragon Punch comes through. The revive gets forced. You have the ultimates coming out one after the other, but VP have only used 2. They still have 3 in the bank for him.
Yeah, that's the important thing to look at. Lots of ultimates for Virtus.Pro are still left. Another Dragon Punch connects onto the Terminus as well. Yeah, you get the reanimate and you get point control, but you kept things a little bit closer. 63% for Natus Vincere with a chance to win.
Yeah, Crunty's on the side once again. He's looking for this opening, this opportunity. 81% to Virtus.Pro's 3%. The Dread Serpent comes out. It actually gets used. Fears away. Natus Vincere, Spunky. The healer in the back has to use the illusion to get out, but Lazy actually ends up getting that kill on the Pacheco. You've got 15%. Virtus.Pro able to at least dip their toe once again in the water, only getting a little bit more than what they had previously. 99% though for Natus Vincere. Overtime is a factor. They already got Crunty. They got rid of Vex. Spunky with the double. Overtime done. And you got a 3-1 for Natus Vincere.
Na'Vi, they keep fighting on. They go down in some of these games, keep things on their side. And again, you know, it's a results thing. Hindsight's 20/20, but you look at kind of the final moments there where Ninu Dragon punched the Terminus kind of at the beginning of that fight, and we're thinking, oh no, like that's the last person you want to Dragon Punch. Gets the reanimate out, and now at the end of the game, Doseps has no way to keep contesting that point. Maybe things are different if you don't Dragon Punch the Terminus. This game has a funny way of things kind of working out that way, where that interaction plays out a little better for Natus Vincere. But gutsy, honestly, from both teams. Comes down to another 0.7, but 3-1 for Na'Vi. I mean, I'll echo what I said a moment ago. I think Virtus.Pro are still very much in this set.
Same.
I just put almost no money on Na'Vi losing 3 straight games. Could happen. I'll gladly eat my words because that's a great set if it happens. But I still got my money on Na'Vi to close this one out.
So do I personally. I mean, they have too much momentum coming into this next match. I mean, you already got a 3-1 for Natus Vincere. They're looking more than good at this point. I mean, it's just a matter if they can close it out, but we can only see if they do right after this break.
Respawn, the official gaming chair of the Paladins Premier League.
Come on back now, guys. This one could be winding down here as we move closer and closer to a Natus Vincere victory. Awesome stuff, I think, from both sides, but we kind of wanted to talk a little bit about what we've been harping on with Ice Mines, which is, frankly, the ability for the support to pressure people through that portcullis and get those early dismounts. We really highlighted Spunky was the only one who was able to do that. Do you feel that that had a pretty profound impact on this game?
For sure. And even, honestly, even if I had my eyes closed, I could tell that it did, because at one point someone in production went, oh, he's zooming at watching Doe, and then immediately, oh, because he got dismounted before he could even touch mid, even with all that master riding. So that level of pressure that a Ying can have just chipping away is kind of crazy. I mean, you can see the master riding on the other side. Doe had master riding 2 on a raise, Cruncy, all kind of taken out of the picture. And that's why Na'Vi were able to prioritize it so highly on everybody, because VP just did not have an answer for that.
Couldn't make him or knock him off the horse. It's really the only point at which you're getting value. It's also nice to have, right? If you do die and the fight happens to drag out for a while, you can get back. We're going to take a look at some of these highlights from the young man himself. Big Spunky on the Ying. Getting aggressive a couple of times in the back line. This character can kind of duke it out fairly effectively, but it is tough to pilot. You're really only seeing some of the older, more veteran supports pilot the Ying effectively nowadays.
And it's crazy because Ying actually has a massive playstyle change from the old days. I mean, the Life Exchange Shatter is a huge change in how you play Ying, where you put your illusions, because you never have to shatter them ever. Not that you ever really did in the first place. It was kind of just a stop healing button. It still kind of is, but still, aiming that Life Exchange, it's different from some of the other supports. No help in the aim like with Furia. There is jumping in there was jumping in accuracy for a while that people had to get used to. Very different style, and Spunky, even part of the old guard, was able to adapt to those changes and still play that Ying excellently. Incredible
player for sure. And I also want to talk a little bit about the way that the frontline picks went in this one, because we talked a lot about how Inara plays into Terminus and how it's kind of a big deal that Doseps is playing Terminus here for the first time, like on a PPL broadcast. A couple other frontlines are doing it, but now it's time to prove VP that they can do it as well. And I think that not picking into the Inara, which was kind of the predictable pick there, and going with the Fernando instead, I don't know. Do we feel like at this point that's kind of par for the course for Na'Vi, that they will just forego the Inara and grab the Nando on Ice Mines?
I think so. The Nando brings so much. We talk about impactful ultimates and how much they're going to change it. Immortal is no one on my team will die. That completely changes the game. That's something you never think about otherwise.
Super, super good, especially when you pair it with that Drogos who runs combustible on Ice Mines. He's wicked slow, almost guaranteed to die after a Dragon Punch. Let's head to the map screen, though, and see where the rest of this one is going to play out. Remember, this is it, folks. Potentially, Na'Vi could close it here with a victory on Frozen Guard. 4-3. It was a narrow, narrow one on Ice Mines. Frankly, it was narrowly won there on Jag Falls as well. Pretty polarizing victories through the first 2 games. Typically, teams lead with their best foot forward, so they kind of look like it on said maps. 3-1 for Na'Vi. We head to Frozen Guard. VP is first pick. They do get to just choose another map because they lost. We'll see what they ban. So far today, it has been Willow, Koa, and Atlas, but already an early switch up in the ban. Phoenix has been playing Con all day long, dude.
All 4 games.
He's going to have to figure out what's next for himself.
Probably going to be hard. I mean, hard to tell with the bans left, because maybe a power tank gets through, and that's 100% going to be what he pilots. You know, Ashe still also on the table for them. Might be an early pick for VP, actually, if the bans go the standard way, if we see a Strix or a Willow plus both power tanks, but already not going to be the case. Na'Vi ban Cassie, which to me means maybe they want to do that Inara Ashe, get rid of that big game counter to both of them, because not only can you big game Inara to do more damage, obviously, but the disengage, knocking Ashe out of the assert dominance is also a pretty big deal. Not only are you displacing her, but now you're chunking the healthiest tank in the game, depending on how much of that heavy metal card you're running, for even more, making it harder for her to return to the flag. Still a good ban by them if they choose to go that way, and actually leaving Makoa open for VP to take.
Maybe wanting them to take it so they can get like a Strix Willow or something and still have enough front lines left in the pool. It almost always feels like a trap to me, you know, when somebody leaves Makoa open. I'm like, what are you up to? Why are you walking them into this pick? And obviously I think VP smell it out as well, but sometimes it just doesn't matter. You got to weigh what you think they are going to pick in response. I'm putting my chips on Strix Willow.
It's possible. They might go for the Ashe just to remove Makoa Ashe from their pool, because that's like, what do you do? Leviathan and an asserting dominance Ashe running at your backline, but They might take a point tank instead. Barrack, excuse me, and Strix. So they got the Strix at least out of it. Willow, maybe not as good on this map. It's very flat on the mid fight. Willow not really able to have that height advantage that leads to a big kind of boon for her. Even if Na'Vi have a response to this Makoa, like a clear idea of what they want to do, I think VP are right in still taking it. I mean, Cassie is banned on the other side. That is the Makoa counter, I think, other than Sky.
Yeah.
But Sky is easier to counter than Cassie for sure. Cassie significantly more flexible than the Sky is in the neutral game.
Well, Cassie, when she applies that big game buff, it's for around 1,200 on most of the front lines. Strix is just going to have to do it without the old big game buff. He just does that at base, albeit a little bit slower than Cassie would. And the Ashe will be up next. Covered for VP and the Furia as well.
I can get us out of here alive.
Could maybe
Stay close
transition
and
into a
follow my
Genos from
lead.
here. I don't know how Na'Vi are really feeling about the 3 DPS
Be humble, mortal.
on Frozen Guard.
Possible. It shouldn't be too bad as long as you're going to have to be very, very backline centric. It would have to be a second backline and a Mave for sure. Focus on burning the point. But I was giving you a look as soon as that got locked in. That is horrifying by VP. That aggression that they have. It doesn't even matter what DPSs they get on top of it. The tanks are going to walk at you. As right now, they have no response to the Assert Dominance or the Leviathan, really.
Yeah, not a lot of CC. I mean, Spunky could potentially fear it out of the sky, but that only kind of delays the inevitable. Sometimes, if you're not careful about when you CC an Ashe that is trying to land Assert Dominance, you could end up helping her, allowing her to get even more distance into your backline, perhaps landing a stun she wouldn't have otherwise. Strix Willow eventually locks in for Na'Vi. You got to look at what's left in the frontline department to decide. Sometimes you almost feel forced into 3 DPS, I think, just because you don't really have a lot of great options left. Lazy's been doing, you know, a decent amount of Fernando today, but I don't know if I'm feeling that. Immortal would be a good kind of emergency break because this VP composition is going to come at them fast with that Inflame active.
Out here,
This is a very interesting end to the draft by VP. The Buck is going to be very aggressive with both of the tanks, and they're just going to shove them into the Kinesis sight lines. That's a lot of pressure on Arrays, though. I feel like we haven't seen Arrays have a phenomenal Kinessa game when he gets it. I don't know if I'm wrong about that, but for some reason, something in my brain is screaming Arrays and Kinessa haven't really sung
I feel like you
to
can just
me.
say we haven't seen a lot of Arrays Kinessa games.
That's true.
Not a lot of people are playing
We've
this
definitely
character.
seen it, though, and I don't remember it being super impactful.
I miss it. I miss the sniper fights, to be honest with you. And Strix is a beast at the moment, but I don't think Kinessa is bad by any means. I think she can still really rip you apart if you get into a rhythm with it.
What do you main again, Nick?
I main flankers, kind of like Eevee.
That's why you miss the sniper fights, because you miss having a free target. And I'm a tag main, and I big sad. Sniper duels are they're the worst part of being a tank, because sometimes
They
you're
distract each other, and then you get to move around the map.
like, if
and
your
do what you
sniper
want.
is 1% worse, that match is unplayable in the tank position. But VP, super aggressive draft. Na'Vi, maybe go Nando just to have the Immortal
They're thinking
to
about
buy
it, bro.
time. That's what I'm thinking.
You can just see it on Lazy's face right there.
Ruckus. I don't know about that. You can use it to counter dive the Furia and the Kinessa maybe, but he doesn't really have a partner. It has to be Willow, either using the Flutter from across the map or going in with a Fae Flight. Na'Vi have to either delay the fight enough so that Barrack's cap time matters, or somehow get the Willow and the Ruckus onto the Kinessa and the Furia. I don't know if they have any other options.
Yeah,
I really
right.
don't.
It's tough to have a consistent dive squad monopoly, right? Hopefully Strix can get that advantage and soften some targets up just to make the decision easier. Oh, we can go in and definitely get something for this. Phoenix is going to have to, I think, kind of air traffic control a little bit here and call when these dives need to happen. Otherwise, it's going to get beasted on by Kinessa. I'm excited. I hope we get to see a couple of nice little sniper fights. Let's get it down to Frozen Guard.
I'm interested, too. You got 2 interesting drafts, and you got an interesting game because it's 3-1. If VP end up winning this, the momentum has officially shifted.
Yeah, you know, I think looking back, this set's fate was sealed the moment I said I put my money on Na'Vi, and that's why Virtus.Pro are going to end up winning this set. But I do think that, at least for Frozen Guard, if we're taking it one game at a time, you know, momentum, yes, with Na'Vi. It's such like a, I don't know, it's a weird way of looking at it because it's more of an emotional thing, you know, in sports. You kind of get the up-tempo, You're driving down the field, and that's like your momentum. In this, it's really one game at a time, so it's more emotional almost. Oh, we've lost the last couple. Oh, we've won the last couple. We're feeling so it's kind of a give and take. If you're looking at it one map at a time, Virtus.Pro have a scary aggressive draft right now. And I don't know. I don't know if Natus Vincere have what it takes to kind of counter it out. Getting an early pick onto the Makoa, great way to start off though.
They're just opening up so many opportunities on the side already by taking care of Cruncy. It already forced Pacheco back. Now they've got 30% on the point, and Ninu and Phoenix are together, really just keeping an eye on that bug, not letting any ground be lost, because look at the percentage, 60% to nothing. VP have not touched, haven't been able to contest, and you've got 72% now, and it's just continually climbing at this point.
You have some good sustain on their side. I was going to say Lazy, if he stays alive, this becomes much easier. Now you look for counter kills for Natus Vincere. Great start for Virtus.Pro on the retake.
Yeah, I mean, Ninu's going to wait right behind that corner, but he's still going to end up getting popped by Pacheco. Now him and Dosups are already on the side. They're opening things up for their team by making sure they get these picks and put this pressure on the Phoenix. Buck's already jumping in. He wanted to follow up, and it ended up working out for him, and it paid in dividends, 78% to 63, and the percentage is now going up from VP. Now they're about to be the ones that surpass the 78% that Navi have had, but they've already converging on Dosip. Cruncy is going to be able to at least get rid of Ninu, so that's still going to allow the percentage to filter through to VP and net them their first point.
Yeah, I don't know if Natus Vincere, I mean, if you look at the Virtus.Pro draft, I don't know if Navi, after losing that kind of re-engagement, they were on the point for a good bit, but once everyone was back in base respawning, I don't think there's a chance. Great hook, better kill for Phoenix.
Oh, man.
But they don't really have that kind of kick down your door, you know, take your lunch money sort of composition here. They can maybe find a few picks and then control the space, but if Virtus.Pro want to dive you, if Virtus.Pro want to get aggressive, especially on a zone, they will. Luckily, a good defense from Navi, because just any space, I think, is what you need. Once that Inflame hits, once that Assert Dominance is out, you know, Ancient Rage, all of those combined, it's going to be a different look.
Well, I mean, you got the Inflame to start things off, and Lazy's already looking pretty low. They confirm that kill on the back of Inflame, but Ninu's hitting good shots, but a good hook is going to keep them alive and well. It's going to allow them to push this cart. Mutu gets a good shot and a better flare right into Pacheco, but it's not going to be enough unless he does that. He just stealths right in. He's going to be aggressive. He hits the flare on the Cruncy, but it gets healed right back up, and they're still able to push the point with 2 ultimates up on VP's side.
Yeah, the rest of Navi is either killed or kind of pulled back. Mutu at least takes one with him. That's a good thing to look at. In kind of following this Makoa, it's been interesting over the last, waiting for an erase shot, the last few sets where, you know, Makoa has kind of started to sneak through without an Atlas. It's, you know, normally both or neither of them. And I think teams have started to do such a good job of dealing with Makoa. The sudden burst, the melt, like you just see, has to be calculated, has to be quick. And teams, I think, are really starting to figure out good counters to it, ways to play around it. A good example is right there. Navi, a clean 5 kills to put themselves right back in control of this defense.
I mean, Phoenix is just on the side with Ninu. They're just free-firing right now. I mean, they're trying to make their way back to point. A good kill on the Lazy, though, is great because of the fact that they've just been putting so much focus onto this right flank. Ninu goes down. Lazy's gone too. Phoenix is now in a bad spot, but he might as well can try and convert something. Actually, it's a raise, but is Dosu actually going to lose this fight? The emitter just came back up. The shielding is there. Mutu's there too. My goodness. No longer will he be a backline DPS. This man is being aggressive. They dive into the backline. They get rid of Dosups.
Payload.
And Payload's still pushing, yeah, but the rest of Natus Vincere have already respawned, and they're keeping an eye out on Cruncy.
Yeah, it's a very, like, I don't know, misleading payload meter, because that's Cruncy saying, all right, the rest of my team is dying.
Right.
We have no chance. Maybe something weird happens and I'm able to push it in. And Pacheco saying more of the same here. Not to be, though. Natus Vincere snag a defense. And it was that one 5-for-0 sweep that really confirms this one, I think, for them. From then on out, you can trade 1-for-1 and be A-okay. Phoenix on the Ruckus, is, I wouldn't say it's uncommon. You don't quite see it as much as, you know, a Khan or Makoa or Atlas whenever it's available. But he can certainly play this champion right up to the top. Death by 1,000 paper cuts, and Phoenix loves himself some of that. Top damage in the game for the Ruckus with, you know, a Kinessa, a Strix, a Willow in the game. Something to be said for Phoenix and the way he's playing in this set.
If Phoenix and Ninu can get the momentum and keep pushing, I mean, we saw what kind of door that opened up. That just opened the floodgates. And him and Ninu were on the side. Now they're just looking at Crunchy, but he's got Ancient Rage. So if he's about to go down, I'm pretty sure he's going to end up popping that one. They're just focusing it, but they force it. Ninu's still in a good spot. He's just free firing, just chunking for so much at this point. He has to back up, use the Hexifier to try and peel for Ninu to stop it. But Mutu, Phoenix, they get 2 kills of their own. The positioning and the movement from Phoenix is not enough to keep him alive, and they team wipe Natus Vincere on Frozen Guard.
I think that fight just went on a little bit too long. Again, the volley of ultimates from Virtus.Pro is so strong. I mean, if you can maybe withstand that initial inflame, headhunter, assert dominance, maybe you kite backwards. Again, I think an Immortal would have been great here for Natus Vincere. Hard to say now that Phoenix is playing the way he is. Still a chance, though, especially with one Dosup's going down and your other tank being in dire straits.
Yeah, they're able to touch the point, and they've gotten rid of a Raze. They've gotten rid of Crunchy. Fasheko's in the back. He's firing, trying to leave, uses the bulk up to give himself DR, but he's still going to go down despite all that. I mean, 33% to VP's 90%. This is definitely a shift in tide for Natus Vincere with one ultimate up. They've got the Dome Shield, and Phoenix actually at 11-4. That's not something you see on Ruckus.
Yeah, it's like how much you can always make an argument that Ruckus is kind of like a half DPS. 90% though for Natus Vincere. They're about to tie up. They drop down the Dome Shield, and they're looking good.
Yeah, they cannot enter into that space at all. I mean, Fasheko is able to peel back and keep Ninu off of Vex, but you got a Hexafire situation right here where you get that masterclass ultimate to be able to get that kill, and you're still pushing them, and you're still getting the kills, and you're still capping the point. 2 minutes, 20 seconds left. Good shot from Mutu. Gonna miss the dismount, but he's applying pressure.
They're staggered. And that's the important thing to look at here. Virtus.Pro are going to be able to get back to that first choke point. But Ice Mine, or Frozen Guard rather, is one of those maps where sometimes you see the payload take a little while to get moving. Virtus.Pro are going to draw the line in the snow about where it's at. Very far forward is Crunchy on this Makoa. And a great Dread Serpent flare connects as well. He actually gets out alive somehow. Brilliant use of healing there for Vex from Virtus.Pro, but Ninu, Faithlight in the background, is going to find some value.
Oh, yeah, he's going to be able to take care of Vex. Crunchy is also picked off. Fasheko's in a bad spot because he's fighting 2-on-1, making a 3-on-1, and they're able to at least take him out, but he's going to be able to get lazy. That's going to be good for Natus Vincere to continue pushing despite that. And Ninu, if you ever talk about somebody that you probably shouldn't let on Willow, is this man right here. Being able to find those shots and those hits with 1:25 still on the clock, and he's opening the door. They're stuck by the door, by the way, and eating so much damage from him. They're still pushing in with 1:18. They got the kill on Crunchy. They got one on Phoenix, but Ninu with the double and zoning somebody out in spawn. They're going to be able to keep pushing it up, but a Raze with a nice kill of his own. Dosup's looking low. They're trying to peel in. They're trying to get them off of the point, but Lazy's still there. He's willing to fight. It's Barrack, baby, and he's going to be able to get the point to make that a 3-1.
Unbelievable from Natus Vincere. A great defense attempt from Virtus.Pro, but you're going down to the wire there, and Lazy is able. That's got to feel so bad. If you look at Ninu and the Willow and what that end round Faithlight provided. Actually, might get or it was maybe a flutter upwards, wasn't the Faithlight. Just plugging away so much damage, and this feels bad. This just feels horrible if you're Virtus.Pro. Dead zone in the right space. And you know, you confirm the kill on a Crunchy, you end up getting 2 out of it actually, but it's just the chunk damage. And honestly, I think without that play from Ninu, Na'Vi doesn't push that, because what you then end up getting is Virtus.Pro. You get 3 half-health members attempting to dive down to defend. That never feels good for Virtus.Pro. Na'Vi knocking on the door of a 4-1 victory.
You have to use the Enflame. Crunchy actually is in the back. As the Makoa use the Ancient Rage, but he's looking at Vex. He's trying to find the opening. He is going to be able to get the kill, but Fasheko with a double. 42% for Natus Vincere. Now at 51. Crunchy with a nice hook on the Spunky in the back line. They're just going to focus on Lazy, and they're going to be able to stand on point.
They were capturing, so you know, my gut tells me that this is the end of the round, and Virtus.Pro are going to capture it. But the space is absolutely there. You're going to get to, you know, 70, 80% maybe. And Natus Vincere have the ultimates. If they get into a good spot to maybe retake here, and that's a good Dread Serpent to get a kill on a Cruncy. Natus Vincere still with a great chance, but they're not able to get in range. I'm surprised by that. The Barrack and Phoenix as well. It looked, you know, they were right in that doorway with like 60% on the timer. And then the Dread Serpent is used only to execute the Makoa. Maybe could have thrown that one onto the point. Hate to be too nitpicky about it, but there were definitely moments where I could have seen Na'Vi fight back into it.
Right.
And the door now swings right back open where Virtus.Pro can now push and tie this game, and you die with a Dome Shield, you die with a Hexafire. It's a tough pill to swallow with the chance to end the set.
2%. I was going to say 2%. 2 ultimates
My
up
favorite
online.
kind of milk.
2 ultimates up online. You've got the flashbang building up too for Strix. Now they're just going to be able to actually focus down on Dosum. The ceiling actually bounces off that rock right there, but they're all grouped up. If Ninu can get in a good spot, this will be hell for Virtus.Pro. They're looking at a race. He's already pretty low, but a good hook from Cruncy. Nice peeling, but Mutu's still going to be able to get it. Ninu's in a good spot now. Both tanks stuck in a dead zone, and they're going to be able to be picked off. Now they swap targets to Dosum. He's really low. Spunky with a double of his own is going to be able to stop that aggression that Virtus.Pro had right there.
I'm just laughing. This set is just kind of nuts. I mean, it is 3-1 for Na'Vi, but every single fight, it's either been, you know, you don't have these weird, like, side skirmishy things. It's 2 teams who are very good with very clear plans, like butting heads in the middle. It's what you expect in a top 4 matchup. It's just constant skirmish, constant action, game plans changing. It is awesome to watch. Na'Vi seemingly have the defense figured out. No flutter, save Ninu there. The distance may not have been there anyway. But this has just been so much fun to watch. And Na'Vi and Virtus.Pro kind of exchanging punches back and forth. I mean, this is, as I said, this is a top 4 matchup, and this is what you expect.
This is absolutely amazing to watch. I mean, I'm having a blast watching this. Speaking of blasted, Fasheko actually just erased from this realm of existence by Mutu. A good couple burst shots from the pistol, gets a sniper shot off, able to kill Fasheko. But, I mean, you still got Cruncy. He got a double right there, and they got 10 seconds left. Virtus.Pro have all 5 ultimates up. I feel like Natus Vincere are the ones feeling the pressure right now since they don't have that many ultimates.
Yeah. What you want for Na'Vi is to be able to delay this, charge your ultimates, and then still, I would argue, win the round, because you don't necessarily want it to go to a 0.7. Vex getting an opening kill, though, much harder for 4 members of Na'Vi.
Lazy is just watching. They're just watching that bridge. The payload's still pushing, though. No one's really dropped down and trying to defend. Mutu's actually in a bad spot because he wasn't looking in the right direction. Fasheko dives right onto him. They actually get rid of Mutu, the sniper up there. They look at Dosips. They get rid of him, and they actually force him back.
I could be way wrong. It looked like he just flashbanged himself. I don't know.
No. He still has his ultimate up.
Okay. I heard a grenade or something, and then I saw him kind of aimlessly looking around. I could have sworn it was, but it was not to be. Thank God, because that would have made me sad. But again, you know, that's a point that kind of goes missing. Virtus.Pro, I think, would have felt good, kind of with the way things built up there. They don't spend a lot, which I think is the important thing to look at, and only Dread Serpent down for Na'Vi, and that's going to be kind of that second wind for Na'Vi in this fight. If you're able to withstand that initial onslaught, which is hard because of the VP stack of ultimates, if you can kind of withstand that initial swing, Spunky and his Dread Serpent could win this set for Natus Vincere. But you're not going to lose if VP cap.
They're just giving up not giving up pressure, but they're just waiting. The Hexfire actually gets used, and Spunky was actually able to heal Flash out, and they get rid of Fasheko. Now, Dosips is actually really low. He drops the Dome Shield, but Lazy's in a bad spot. The Inflame is still present. They get rid of Phoenix, Lazy, Ninu. All 3 of them are down. Spunky looks like he's about to go down next. Has to retreat. Mutu's all the way in the back, but he can't really find a good line of sight to be able to hit those shots. He's in the back on top of Cruncy trying to peel for Spunky. But he used the Ancient Rage. They've still got comeback mechanic ready. They're still able to keep on going with this pressure.
I mean, this composition that Virtus.Pro have built is really just kind of a gross, in a good way, team fighting team. I mean, the Inflame, as we put it, is like the ultimate go button, and then everything else is just made better after that. Suddenly you have a fast, higher damage dealing Makoa running at you, who's also in an Ancient Rage, a Buck Wild going crazy, and assert dominance can lock down a few. I don't know, Na'Vi they haven't really like kited back from it. That there's kind of different ways that you can fight through that. You know, Kresnik brought up counter dive, and that's somewhat there. They dive all in at you, you dive all in at them, and hope that things work out. But you can see what happens on the defense, and this is a good example again where if it's not like a big settled team fight where all of the ultimates are on the table and you know they're gonna sweep you off your feet, Na'Vi have been holding their own and then some. Just figuring out that mid fight where you can counter out that onslaught.
Ninu got Crunchy pretty low, but he was just able to be healed up at the right time. But they've got defender's advantage, so Ninu will be right back in there once he actually respawns. The payload's been pushed back considerably enough. A minute 20 still available. Excuse me, still available on the clock. They're just staring back at Vex all the way back there. Mutu is trying to soften him up before they're actually able to continue forward.
Now hear me out. This is absolutely not the right strategy.
Okay, I'm hearing.
Just let them push it so they don't have a lot of their ultimates for the next mid fight. Not the right way to go about it. I know that is a bad strategy, but I'm just saying you could. The assert dominance, the Buck Wild wouldn't really be ready. Ancient Rage is kind of far away as well. I guess you don't have that many ultimates if you're Na'Vi either. There's got to be a world, though, as there's a bit of downtime in this game. There's got to be a world where if I'm Na'Vi right now, oh, wait, no, it's tied at 3. I don't know what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
That's why I was laughing because I was like, Dave, there's no other mid fight after
You're right,
this round.
You're right. And 3-2, I think, is the world where that you can make an argument. That's all. But this is all my special strategy thinking here. I don't think there's really any space for that in this game. But tied at 3, Virtus.Pro could end it against Dave's thoughts with the push here.
I mean, well, they've got still, once again, a 3-3 score. They've only got 10 seconds, though. They've traded out for Lazy, and then they ended up getting for Prosecco. I mean, they have 2 kills already. They're looking pretty good. And nice Dread Serpent to stop that assert dominance, but you don't have it coming into second round. He fears him right up. Wow. Just as he jumps up, he gets feared, and they kill him. If he would have hit that, they would have lost the round.
They used the Inflame on Virtus.Pro as well.
Yeah, that's insane.
That has been a cornerstone of their mid fight. Headhunter as well. You know, we're kind of even here. The Dread Serpent's a big trade. Inflame will charge very quickly if this fight kind of goes long. But their fight has been built off of this. We're going to hit Inflame, and then we're all going to dive Natus Vincere. Now you lose the Inflame, we're all just going to dive Natus Vincere. You know, I think this is Navi's best look at a mid fight if they can win it quickly, because as that morale boost Inflame starts to come up, it gets a lot more difficult.
We've got 3%. Prosecco's following up right behind Phoenix. You already hear the Faith Fly come out. He's been watching. Ninu's been watching for that Buck right there. He's already diving directly back on the Vex, but you've lost 2 of your teammates already while those fights were breaking out. Mucho's going to be the next one to go down. Ninu got a raise all the way in the back. That's great, but look at what's happening. 21% to 12%. A good hook on the Phoenix, but Ninu's still killing in the back line. Vex, I believe, is still up somewhere back there, but he's being pressured by Ninu. Actually, no, Ninu's just sitting back there all the way in spawn. He can't really push forward.
Get the dismounts. Actually, maybe a kill onto a raise.
That actually might be big.
78% in climbing for Virtus.Pro. Tense moments as Spunky and Lazy both grab some kills.
Nice shot on the Vex. They actually kill him off of the point. Nino in the backline. That is so important. He got 2 dismounts, and he got some damage onto him. They're literally stuck back there fighting him, but they're on point on Natus Vincere's side. They've got 42% to 90. VP only need to touch it. Need to get a good
Buck
pick.
Wild.
They just have their ultimate. You're right. They have Buck Wild. They can use this opportunity to try and get the aggression.
And Dread Serpent.
But 72% for Natus Vincere, and it is steadily growing.
Dread Serpent ready to go here for Spunky. They're going to throw it out. They're going to spear a few. Virtus.Pro still climbing, and 84% for Na'Vi.
Dose is on the point, but he actually gets picked off. Mucho gets picked off by a raise. They get rid of him. Buck Wild is trying to go crazy, but Prosecco might be in a bad spot. He has to back up. 99%. Vex actually touches on the point, but that's it. You're done. You use the Inflame to try and contest. It's a little bit too late for that because Natus Vincere, they're cleaning up and winning the game.
Overtime is going to expire. Raze still in an area to find an angle. Overtime is going to melt down.
No way!
Natus Vincere, they have a great shot at winning it here. The shoulder bash just to extend the life. There's just bodies going
Oh
on the
my
pilot
goodness.
at this point here for Virtus.Pro.
Did I call a little bit too early? Okay, no, they're actually going to get rid of... Okay. That would have been crazy. But Natus Vincere win 4-1. That was an amazing in-fight to that. That was top-notch.
I mean, you see Ninu leaning back, kind of
Yeah, clutching his chest.
hand on the heart, because that was a tense moment, and especially in a game where you're not going to lose the set if you lose that one. I mean, you're 2 games up rather at that point. Tense moments though. Na'Vi, the strategy, the communication, it wins the day. I have to look back at that lack of Enflame. You used it to try to push in if you're Virtus.Pro, and that has been such a cornerstone of your mid-fight. And they did kind of, sweep a few of the members of Na'Vi at the beginning without that Enflame, but it wasn't as convincing as it normally was. The retake, the number of members left alive from Natus Vincere was just too much. And I think back to the Ninu kind of Faithlight flank as well. All game he's been trying to dive Vex with that Faithlight. And I kind of questioned it because he's out on an island in the Faithlight. That buys so much value in team fights, and he's using it just for a support while the rest of his team is getting dove. But in reality, it ends up working out because the rest of Na'Vi, and this is, they know the communication, they know what they're doing. The rest of Na'Vi withstands. The Faithlight ends up chasing all the way back into the Virtus.Pro base. And then the dismounts are enough to win them the game and the set. And that was nuts. At a 4-1, it doesn't feel like a 4-1.
It doesn't. It doesn't at all. I mean, it was close. Every single battle, every single map, VP definitely put up a fight, but Natus Vincere, they're the ones that took this very, very first set. 4-1. Not easy to do against VP, but we're going to throw it right back to the desk to get their thoughts on this match.
Just goes to show how long these games were. That was a 4-0. The first map being a 4-0 in this 4-1. And that still took 2.5 hours to complete that set. A really, really long one. That last fight on Frozen Guard, man, kind of tough to follow what exactly happened. What were some of your key moments throughout it?
The key, the turning point, the thing that turned it around, 100%. Mutu stealthing onto the objective, killing Vex
Just
there.
ripping Vex's heart out.
What do you, there was no way he could have known. Vex shot a shot or two.
Yeah.
He didn't connect, and he's like, I guess
He did his
Mutu's
damnedest.
not. He heard the owl. He heard the little small noise in the background.
Oh, God, please, no.
Just getting torn apart. But, what's it? The the VEW is strict. That's all he heard as Mutu struck in the night and took him down. Great
If
performance.
only you could teabag and they could hear that noise, That'd be the perfect kill cam. The absolute perfect kill cam. 25-16 for Ninu's Willow. I have to say, on a map that doesn't have a ton of high to low, right? We think about Splitstone when we think about Willow's best map. I was really impressed with the amount of low to high pressure that Ninu was able to bring, especially when you look at that first conversion that Na'Vi was able to snag, because he's sitting way below his targets, and he's still able to kind of crush a lot of them home. You were freaking out because he said he was blast flowering onto 3 targets at once.
Yeah.
So much damage, a lot of kills, and a great KD ratio against double hit scan, right? You're dealing with against Buck and a Kinessa, and Ninu's still finding a way to weasel his way to a great KD.
He really found the openings that he needed. Like in that last fight, he knew he wasn't going to be really useful on the main point, so he just went to their spawn.
Dove. That's wild to me. And I think, it's kind of what I expect from this guy who was left on VP. I always say this as like a bit of a lone wolf, right? None of their comps when he played for VP were designed around him. Yeah, look at all this blast damage. So many people taking the heat. But he's used to playing on his own, and it kind of shows because Willow's not typically a character you play very solo dolo with. You normally kind of chilling in the backline, waiting for your opportunities. My man was in the spawn by himself, nowhere near Hope or any of his teammates, and he still found a way to make use of it.
I mean, that's just the Na'Vi way, right? They grab the meta and they twist it the way that they want it to be played. They can play these characters in different ways.
You got Strix as the one pressuring the point, right?
Ninu's in their spawn, Strix
nose
is
to
pressuring
nose.
the
Yeah, it's really, really funny, man. These guys are killing it right now. Took them a long time, but 4-1 is what the history books will say about this set. Let's get it down to a post-game interview and hear the thoughts.
What's up, guys? Thank you for coming down here, of course, to the interview. Congratulations to you guys for winning. It was a very intense set. It was 4-1. Didn't feel like a 4-1. It was very, very intense. So I guess the most general question is I could ask is, how are you guys feeling right now? I can go for either of you to answer.
We're feeling really good. A lot of preparation coming into this, especially since last time we lost to VP. So we had a lot of things to talk about, and we adjusted a lot of our plays. And it also kind of shows, yes, the games were close, but it was much better than last time.
Crazy kind of scenes there towards the end of Frozen Guard. Walk me through some of the communications that you guys had. Ninu with the Fae Flight and, zones out. However many people on Virtus.Pro. What was kind of going through everyone's mind?
You can explain that better.
I died and I saw that Nino was behind him and he was 1v1ing the buck. And honestly, I thought he died at the end, but he got the buck and then we knew it was a good situation. Then we started trying to call him back at one point, but he was like, I'm killing everybody, I don't care. And he just went on killing like, Kinessa and zoned everybody out, and that just gave us a lot of time to set up for point.
It worked out very well for you guys, and then I believe with this win, you have cemented yourself as the #1 seed going to the quarterfinals. If nothing else, it's at least very much less likely that NIP will be able to leapfrog you guys. What does that mean? Does 1 versus 2 seed make a big difference in your mind?
No, not really. I think it's the same. It's you have to beat every team you play anyway in HRX. So it doesn't matter what seed you actually have.
Do you guys consider yourself playing as the #1 seed in the PPL right now? It's been an up and down, split. Been chasing NIP throughout Split 1. Big resurgence from you guys here in Split 2. Do you see yourselves as the top seed in your mind?
I feel like we should be 3rd or 2nd, I think, in my opinion.
Who do you have at 1?
We lost to Renegades.
Dude, that would be
somebody else. At any rate, you guys are #1, so congrats to you guys. Big win today over Virtus.Pro. We'll send it to a break and get these guys out of their seats.